Right, a Wednesday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Jack Johnson, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. The next 4 hours, we've got you. Number of things to get into today. We'll talk some Royals baseball. We will talk some Kansas City Chiefs. We will talk some NFL draft. We got Mick Schaefer later on in the 1 o'clock hour, but a wide open show today because it is draft eve. We will do a number of different things today. We'll talk some Royals, as I just said, but we'll also get into draft scenarios for the Chiefs coming up tomorrow night and possibilities of trading up, trading back, players that might be worth it. And then coming up at noon, we will do a mock draft, live mock draft simulator where we'll pause it at different points and see what it would be worth to get up there if a player is available and make a decision if we want to actually pull the trigger, if we want to make that trade. Is it of value to get this specific player? Do you hold your water? Do we trade back? Etc. We'll do that coming up at noon just to see the different things that might be on the docket tomorrow night. We may do it again tomorrow because it's a completely different draft every time you hit the simulator. So we'll see what happens there in the noon hour, and we will talk about that. 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810 text line to join us to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. Let's get into the show. Let's get into the Royals. We start with the Royals finding a way to win last night. The big error opens up the door for the Royals in what was just going to be your typical Royals have a leadoff double that they end up stranding. Contact play, non-contact play, that can be talked about, discussed, debated, whatever. There was one out in the inning, and quite frankly, anywhere but the pitcher, contact play works. But that's a conversation for a different time. I want to talk about the fact that Isbell, one, puts it in play. That's of importance because we talk about the strikeout. We talk about, well, the strikeout, or what's the difference between a strikeout or just putting it in play? It's still an out. Well, that's the difference, is what we saw with Vlad Guerrero apparently reverting to his 8U days. and just the first baseman, clean play at short, easy throw, and the first baseman just simply drops it. We see that out at 3-2, or wherever you're playing. Maybe that's right. You really don't. 6U probably. Probably not 8U. Probably not 9U. Especially when you get older, you're not doing that. So Vlad Guerrero just simply drops the ball. They get a run. It's 2-1, but they still had to capitalize after that. And Garcia, who hit the home run on Monday night, comes through with the single that Isbell heads to third. So you get first and third with then Bobby and Vinny. And Bobby just gets so pissed at that baseball. Like, that baseball said something about his mom. I'm thinking that, or a family member or a friend, because that baseball was destroyed. And Bobby rips it down the left field line and scores a couple. And Garcia, luckily Garcia being the man at first and not somebody that was slower, but Garcia scores as well. We know Vinny ends up grounding out, but the Royals take the 3-2 lead, and then at that point, all they have to do is hold on. All they got to do is hold on to a 3-2 lead with the bullpen coming in. And they did. So my question, as I tweeted last night, man, that's just a professional win. You got an error, the door was open, but you took advantage. That is so 2023, 2022, 2018, 2019 Royals, the flip side, where you go, man, you did so many things right, but the dude just dropped the ball. And, of course, you can't get out of the inning. You get a base hit, you get a double after it, which should have been the third out. You end up recording 4 outs in the inning, and you lose the game. And then you can't muster anything else after that. And then they bring on their closer for a 2-out save, which I want to get into and talk about as well. But just in general, what's the takeaway from last night and the Royals finding a way to break the 3-game losing streak in a night where their starter didn't necessarily have it, but a night where he did enough to keep them in the game, not necessarily, because we've seen Royals starting pitchers that didn't have it, they give up 18. Maybe not 18, but you get the point. You give up enough runs early on. It looks more like Cole Reagan's on Saturday, unfortunately, than it does with Waka not being all that good, laboring through, and still limiting any damage to where that opening in the 5th inning resulted in the Royals getting the lead. So what's the takeaway from last night? Is it, one game, these things happen, or is there something bigger to glean from last night's victory?
This is what solid teams do. This is what 500 ball clubs do. This is exactly what the Royals didn't do. As you mentioned, the past 6 years, right? You win these games. Win a Gold Glove, by the way. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. won a Gold Glove.
The problem is he was
base.
actually wearing his
gold
trophy
glove,
glove at first. That wasn't smart, but he was being kind of cocky. I get it.
If you watched earlier in the game, too, he had a scoop that he could have made. It wouldn't have mattered, and he looked so lost out there. So I don't know if he's got a little fielding yips or what, because that was there was 2 plays he could have made in this game that he, quite frankly, did not. But we talked about it as well just in general with Les Norman the other day. Did the home run that didn't mean a lot in that previous game of Michael Garcia, did that unlock something? He goes, a home run doesn't always necessarily mean a guy's back. Well, he goes 2 for 3 tonight, or last night. He also drew a walk. That's a good sign. When the top of your lineup is finally starting to produce, I mean, the bottom half was still not ideal, but they scratched it across, and the bullpen closed the door. We'll get into James McCarthy and what it means and all that stuff.
Right.
But you could tell Q wanted to use his best guys. Q was going, I'm going with my circle of trust guys. We need to stop the losing streak. We need John Schreiber out there who's got a .82. We need Chris Stratton, who apparently is earning his way into the circle of trust, who got out of Waka's debacle with only 1 run given up as an unearned for Stratton, when earned for Waka, of course. But he got out of that. And then, of course, James McCarthy going 2 innings. And unconventional from a closer, no strikeouts.
Yeah, that's. I think they should probably cut him if you're not going to strike anybody out. Jack, what do you take away from last night?
Yeah, I hate the term must win, especially in baseball. It's too
especially
long of a season.
game 24 in the
especially game 24. I really do think that it's such a useless saying in general. But I will say this. The one knock we could have had on the Royals through these first 23 games is that you could go back to the White Sox series and say, well, are they really good, or are they just beating up on maybe the worst baseball team we've ever seen assembled? And during this 3-game losing streak, you saw a lot of people start going, this is who they really are. They can't beat any good teams. And we forget about Friday night. They beat the Orioles 9-4, and then you give up 7 in the second inning against Baltimore. You can't make that comeback. Then you're shut out. Then the offense still can't produce against Yusei Kikuchi in Toronto in Game 1.
You said that.
But, well, at least the Twitter folk said that. Let's go with that.
You say
it. Yeah, and with this game, if that play is made at third base when they threw it over to Vladdy Jr., the Royals lose this game. Just because it was another situation, the contact play was on, which you're supposed to, I mean, not to be a coach here, you don't gun it home if it's back to the pitcher, and that wasn't like a hot comeback where you don't have time to react. That was on Frazier and also on Massey for not just getting one in the air a little bit, just more situational hitting. But you could tell after that play, after the drop, everybody's at-bats seemed like they had their shoulders a little bit more laxed. Like you saw with Bobby Witt Jr. coming up. He's able to rope one down the line. No, it's a generational hitter we're talking about, but it's more so the guys after him. We saw with Michael and his 8-9 pitch walk that he had. We weren't seeing those in his 0 for 25 stretch. He was seeing it a little bit better. He's got the confidence back. You had a couple other guys that were seeing the ball really well. Salvador Perez, who's been damn hot of late, he had a double later on in that game. And the bullpen, of course, carries them the rest of the way. But I would say that for a team like this, last night was important to win a game like that because also in their 3-game losing streak, there were a lot of unlucky things that happened. Baltimore had a lot of those squibbers that just went right past the glove, right? Toronto in Game 1 had a couple of soft contact hits that resulted in runs. And even early on in this game, there was a couple of soft contact hits. There was an infield single that drove in the first run of the game. There was a couple of walks. There was a hit batter. And so for the Royals to get a break like that, one that probably happens 1 out of every 200 chances, if that, where a guy just, it wasn't like he was lunging. It wasn't in the dirt. It wasn't high. It was right there, and he dropped it. You saw just this pressure leave them almost. And the fact they were able to hang on in that game, it is important because now you look at the rest of the series. You have March tonight, Reagan's on Thursday. You split this series, you feel pretty good about a 3-4 homestand, considering what maybe some people out there were thinking of. They just can't beat anybody else with the exception of the Chicago White Sox. And that's why last night, I think, could maybe be the start of something where, hey, we know that we can compete with these teams, and we just needed something to break our way. And last night, it certainly did break their way.
Well, and it's not only, you talk about the White Sox and is this just a team that beats up on bad teams? I know the Blue Jays are not the Orioles. Not the same team. The Orioles are so freaking talented. We've talked about that. When they were playing the Orioles, we discussed that, went up and down the lineup, looked at all the younger players and some jealousy that comes in. That's fine. We deal with that. I'll lay on a couch later on with therapist and discuss the fact that the Royals missed on some first rounders and the Baltimore Orioles didn't. It's odd. She's learned a lot about the Royals. It's weird over the years. Kidding. But the difference between the Orioles and the Blue Jays, it's there. But didn't we talk about with the Orioles the first two series of, man, they just couldn't find a way to win a game? They gave a game away. They should have won this game. They could have they could have taken both series, but they just didn't win them. They had a bullpen do this. They had a mistake there. They had situational hitting that was lacking in this game. It's just a little bit here and there that they weren't able to get over the hump. And then you come out of that series and Vinny Pasquantino going, we feel like we could have taken both of these series. We feel like we're better than what we did, which is a confidence boost, I guess, from the outside looking in, that they at least believe that they are as good as one of the best teams in baseball, but they didn't do it. And this was a game where they did take advantage. Just because the error happened doesn't mean they were going to score any more runs. They still had to come up with 2 more hits, back-to-back hits with 2 outs to score any runs. You still had to get the single, get the double to score the next 2 runs. So they could have been down 2-1. It could have been, you know what, great job. You got a run. Now find a way to get a run after that. Well, they didn't. They didn't find a way to get a run because it wasn't like they were up 10-4 and then it didn't matter after that. No, you could have added some insurance runs along the way. They just did not do that. So I don't know if the whole butterfly effect of if they only get 1 run, do things change? Maybe, but again, you could always use that insurance run along the way. So it wasn't just a matter of that the door was open. It was that they then took advantage of it. Maybe some of it is there's some luck, there's some fortune because it happened to be Garcia and Bobby Witt coming up. It wasn't, okay, the door's open, Renfroe and Isbell are now up. And I know Isbell was the one that got the hit there, or they put the ball in play on the air. But it could have been, oh my God, they left the door open. You got 2 outs. Who's up next? Renfroe. Oh, okay. All right, let's see if he can run into one. Maybe that'll happen. No, you got Garcia, who maybe his shoulders are getting a little more relaxed the way that he had the previous at-bat, the home run on Monday night. And then that one just falling in. It wasn't 105 off the bat. He didn't rope it into left center. He got the ball. He got the bat on the ball, and it fell in play. All right, and it was a single, and he passed the baton over to Bobby Witt. That then helped him, Michael Garcia, also probably feel pretty good about his at-bat and the fact that I passed the baton, and now it's a double. Now I get to score. So I came through with a hit, and I scored. Now we got the lead. Let's go have some fun.
Are you saying they kept the line moving, Jason?
I'm not saying that. He did at least. But, I mean, there's some fortune that goes along with it. One, the clear fortune of the error happening.
Or create your own fortune, too, to an extent.
Well,
and that's what we're talking about with the strikeout. Yes, it was just some stupid stuff. If you strike out, though, you have 0 chance. Mm-hmm. If you at least put the ball in play, you have a chance. Mm-hmm. If you hit it where they ain't, little booty knock for Michael Garcia, right? You're creating your own luck to an extent right there. You'll get no luck when you're striking out, and that's what bad teams do. When Garcia was just so lost, and he's taking 94 down the middle because he was a 3-2 count. He's like, you know what? I just don't want to swing. Mm-hmm. Maybe he'll walk me. You're not creating your own luck. That's a player who's scared. You're at least trying to put the ball in play and do something there, right? I think you can make the case that Garcia, Isbell created their own luck.
I thought it was, I thought it was interesting on Monday night, too. I was out there in the locker room, and we talked to Michael Garcia after the game, and Andy Rogers asked about the home run that he had, and right after he'd hit it, I mean, he crushed it, right? It was a no-doubter. But he slammed the bat down. And Andy Rogers asked him, was that frustration? Was that, you are happy for your team? Like, this is hey, let's get someone going. He said, it was purely frustration. I was mad about the way things had gone. I think that's a little bit of a difference that we've seen with this team is that, we think in the past, if I'm struggling, well, I hope that we win. I'll struggle, but I hope we win. And I don't think it's a selfish thing at all. But you can tell that when some of these guys are starting to get going, there is this relief that, lifts off them a little bit, if you will. And I do believe that when one of these guys has the pressure lift off them, it almost passes on to the next guy, right? We saw with Salvador Perez when he was struggling through 2 games, really. It was the first 2 games of the year. It kind of passed on some of these other guys like MJ Melendez, who had struggled through the first 2 games, to kind of take that and go with it. So you wonder now where, as everybody got contagious with the slump, can it be contagious for now? Let's break a couple of these other guys out of the slumps. And that's when this offense goes from, 1 run a night, 2 run a night, to maybe putting together consistency where it's not boom or bust. It's not 9 runs one game, no runs the next game. And I think that element of hearing the frustration, Kyle Isbell, the same thing. He homered in Monday night and kind of slammed the bat down. That wasn't I finally got into one, let's get going now. It was, no, I've been struggling, and that felt good. I feel a lot better about my swing. Now, Isbell didn't have the same game as Michael did last night, but you do feel like that can be something, as much as it's a cliche in baseball, that can be the thing that gets you going because you finally see one that leaves the yard, that finally finds a gap, that finds the outfield grass. And with Michael, maybe it is only 2 games here, but it's a hell of a lot better than what we saw over that 6-game road trip where he was 0 for the entire time.
It's a team, too, that, we talked with Les Norman yesterday that with Michael Walk on the mound, there's a reason why we were excited about this season, about what it could be because of the starting staff, because you bring in some professional pitchers. Obviously, the trade for Cole Reagans was awesome. But you bring in a Walker, you bring in Seth Lugo. So you feel good about 3 guys. Brady Singer, what he has done in the past. So you feel good about 4 times, 4 nights that those guys are going to the mound, that you get a chance to win. We didn't know about Alec Marsh. I mean, he was named the starter, but at the time when the season was starting, we didn't know what Alec Marsh was going to be. We didn't know he was going to be a 3.2 ERA guy through the first 4 starts of the season, and be 3-0 on the year. We didn't know that was going to be the case. I certainly didn't. I would have lost some money if you would have said who's got the best record in terms of decisions through the first 24 games of the season. Who is it? Alec Marsh. Take all of my money. I'm putting it down on Alec Marsh. No, it's not the case. But at least 4 times through the rotation where you feel like you've got a chance to win. That's how you limit losing streaks. That's how you keep it from losing 7 in a row or 8 in a row. And that to me is the importance of even Michael Wacha's outing last night, where he gets to the 5th inning and there are 11 base runners through 5 innings. But that's a professional out there that's finding a way to get through a game where he just simply didn't have it. He didn't have his stuff last night. And they still win the game even though he wasn't out there looking like he did in the first couple starts of the year. And now it is 4 games in a row. It's this when we talk about every night of those 4 at least. And Alec Marsh, I feel that way too with him going to the mound tonight. So I'm going to throw him in there. But going back to the beginning of the season, you had 4 guys that were going to the mound that you felt good about winning. This trip through was Reagans you lost, Lugo you lost, Singer you lost, and Michael Wacha you lost. That would have been tough, this early in the season to go, well, that kind of throws a little water on that fire of what it meant for this early in the season. But they found a way to win that game, and they found a way to have a pitcher at least get to the 5th inning when he didn't necessarily have his good stuff. Because Lugo didn't look great, and his line got beat up. Brady Singer's line was not as good as maybe he pitched in the game. But still, you're talking about 7 runs for Reagans, 4 runs for Lugo, 5 runs for Singer, but only 2 for Wacha, even though Singer may have pitched better than Michael Wacha, just depending on that. And I think that's the importance of last night, too, is because it sort of adds credence to, hey, every night, these 4 guys, it's how you limit a losing streak. They lost 3 in a row. Somebody else on the mound of the past that didn't have it, the Royals don't win that game last night because they score 3, and they got a break with an error, but they only scored 3. And how many other pitchers that didn't have it would give up more than 3 through 5 innings?
I think it also shows a ability to trust your bullpen, that the bullpen's finally starting to pitch better.
That's a big part of it,
in the 5th, you go 4 1/3, bases loaded. At that point, he'd only given up 1 run, right? And he still turned to Chris Stratton because he goes, you know what, we trust our bullpen. We have multiple guys now that we think can get out of this jam. Stratton, again, gives up 1 with the bases loaded, which is not end of the world. That was a huge stopper moment for Stratton. Comes out the next inning, throws that. He's really turned into a solid pitcher. Getting the walks have been, whether it's the umpires or not, he's still walking too many dudes. But really, overall, you're seeing Angel Zerpa look pretty good out of the bullpen. James MacArthur, again, he's been an absolute stud. But Schreiber's been an absolute stud, 2.82 ERA this season. There really is, from the first week of the season when the bullpen was just absolutely atrocious. And again, a lot of that was Will Smith, but the entire bullpen was not getting it done.
McCarthy too.
Yeah,
MacArthur.
James
McCarthy, MacArthur, McCarth.
JJ McCarthy.
JJ McCarthy, that's exactly
that's
right.
That's probably why he probably shouldn't have been out there.
I may have some NFL draft stuff going on in my mind. There's a lot of things bouncing around right now in the mind with watching the Royals and being invested in the Royals this year, unlike years of the past, while the draft is, a little more than 24 hours away, which is great. it's an awesome spot to say MacArthur, but then say McCarthy when I meant MacArthur because we're draft and we're talking Royals. I want to talk a little bit more about the bullpen. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More than half the game. I mean, it was only one out more, but more than half the game, the bullpen was out there and gave up only 2 base runners for 4 2/3. I mean, Waka goes out there, gives up 11. And then the faucet was just turned off when the bullpen came in. We'll talk about that on the other side of the break. Also, there's been this talk about Salvi in the Hall of Fame and what he's doing and how hot he's hitting right now. What more does he have to do? How close is he? Looking at other catchers that have been in the Hall of Fame and what Salvi has accomplished in his career so far, because he's been pretty awesome watching him play this year. A rejuvenated, a younger, the fountain of youth Salvi. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. 2 o'clock, we've got you. We'll talk some NFL football coming up in the 11 o'clock hour, the noon hour. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer coming up at 1 o'clock, 913-912-4810. I do want to talk about the bullpen because early on in the season, there's so much made of the first week, the first couple of games, that it sort of dictates the storylines and the feel for the rest of the year. And the fact that the Royals went out and rebuilt the entire bullpen, and then they came out and peed down their leg, mainly because of the biggest addition being this World Series closer for the last few years that comes in and he's recruiting other players, and he's got this group of guys that he's friends with and that helps, build this Royals roster in the offseason. And then he comes out and doesn't look good. And, the other guys in the bullpen are walking guys and not looking good. And then it's okay, same old bullpen. Here we go, same old bullpen. And I understand that when I say if you haven't been watching because, Major League Baseball doesn't make it easy for you to watch, but the bullpen is just completely different now. I do wonder how much the general opinion of the bullpen has changed along with the performance, as opposed to why we put so much of an emphasis early on in the year, because somehow storylines and opinions are shaped for 162 based off of 5. And if those 5 games happen in July, they went through a rough patch. 5 games happen late March, early April, this bullpen sucks. And that's how it is the rest of the year. And anytime you get out of a game without the bullpen giving up runs, it's an exhale. Oh, thank God they didn't suck like they did 19 games ago. I mean, just like,
earlier this month.
Yeah, earlier this month, way back when it was. I hope they don't. Thank God they didn't suck like they did when UConn was dominating teams. Thank God they finally got away with one. But when we look at like early on, it was about the starters, the bullpen. You get to the bullpen, you're giving up runs. This stretch through these 4 games where, the 3-game losing streak and then last night finding a way to win, you had Reagans, Lugo, Singer, and Waka. And those guys combined for 18 earned runs. 18 earned runs. Reagan gave up 7. Okay, Reagan 7, Lugo 4, there's 11. Singer gave up 5, there's 16, and last night Waka gave up 2. So you got 18 earned runs. In that same time frame, over 18 and 2/3 innings pitched, the bullpen's given up 2 earned runs. If you flip that, it'd be like, yeah, of course, that's what this season was going to be. There's the same old bullpen. But early on in the season, the starting staff was so much the story and the bullpen was the issue that this trip, it's only one trip through the rotation, and they've had many other trips through this rotation that were awesome. This trip wasn't great. This trip happened to be one to where these 4 guys didn't go out and throw up the zeros and the non-crooked numbers throughout the game. But the bullpen has shown that it is not the first 5 games of the season. It's not the first 6 games of the season. And now that roles have changed, Q is not throwing at the end of the game in high-leverage situations Will Smith anymore, which is a good thing. But it took some time. But I'll also credit him with not trying to continue to shove a square peg in a round hole. No, this is going to work. I'm telling you, this is going to work. He recognized it pretty early and was like, okay, we're pulling him out of the game in the 9th, putting somebody else in, and that was it. It's the last time we saw Will Smith in the closer's role for this team, and unless there's injuries or him just turning things around, we're not going to see that, and he's turned into a little bit of mop-up duty now until he figures it out. That's a quick change with a veteran guy. How many managers with a veteran? Mike Matheny with a veteran guy and Will Smith, he would still be running out there. I am convinced he would still be running out there as the closer right now. Will Smith would be if Mike Matheny was the manager right now.
Yeah, I think that, what helped that situation, too, is I believe Will Smith, after he had blown the game in Baltimore, came to Matt Quatrero and said, listen, I'll pitch in whatever role you want me to. And we are so easy to bag on Will Smith because of the numbers, and that's a part of the game. If you struggle,
right,
nobody's going to make excuses for you. But I do think Will Smith, being a professional that he is, didn't say, no, I was signed here to be the closer. I'm not going to pitch and mop up.
You're not taking me out of the closer's role that early. Yeah, I had a couple of bad games. That's not how this works. This is the big leagues, okay? This is the show.
It's April, right? I've been pitching well. I'm just missing spots here and there. No,
you saw me close in October last year, right? I mean, so
it was one of those spots where Will Smith had every right to say, I've been on 3 straight World Series teams. I've pitched in high leverage. I've done more than James MacArthur has at this level.
Yes.
But the fact that he said, throw me in whatever role you want. I want to pitch where you want to put me in. I will try to do my best. If it's mop up, if it's close games, if it's setup role, 6th inning, 5th inning, whatever the case may be. And Matt Quatraro still gave him one more chance, right? It was that White Sox game. Will Smith came in. But I was at that game. James MacArthur was warming up at the beginning of that outing, and Will Smith didn't get out of it. And that was when James MacArthur took that closer's role and ran with it. And to me, that's good managing on that part, right? It was, hey, I'm going to give you one more chance. If you can't cut it, we're going to the younger guy because the younger guy has better stuff than you. And we have seen the bullpen kind of take off from that point. That, to me, was the turning point because guys had started to settle into their roles, and we are, going to overreact 5 games in because nobody had roles. Who was pitching in what inning? Who was the 6th inning guy? Who was the 7th inning guy? And as Sterling pointed out a little bit earlier, now guys have defined roles. Chris Stratton kind of in that circle of trust now. John Schreiber is the quote-unquote fireman. He's the setup guy. A little bit of both when you're facing the best part of the lineup like last night and it's not the 8th or 9th inning. It's going to be John Schreiber. And then James MacArthur, if he hasn't pitched in a while, can get a 6-out save. And when you see those guys get penciled in there, your bullpen's naturally going to get better because guys know when to prepare, when they're going in, and it's not just throwing a dart up there and saying, well, we need Serpa to go into the 8th inning. And Serpa's been good, but he's not a setup guy. So that's why I think we've seen such a tremendous jump, not just that Will Smith is bumped from the closer's role, it's that these other guys have identified where they're throwing. And that, to me, began back on that first White Sox series.
And you actually look at a lot of the ERAs. Now, there are some reasons for trepidation, I think. Again, we've talked about the strikeout numbers in general. I went through Nick Anderson's. We were laughing about it, how he was one year he had a 17 strikeout per 9. 17, then 14. Last year was down to 9. He's not trending the right way. This year it's actually 3 strikeouts in 9 innings. Again, he's actually pitched fairly well, but is there some concern there? Will Smith's fastball. First off, he's thrown it well more than his slider in previous seasons. Just looked it up. Normally he was a slider first guy. This year he's been fastball first. And by the way, his fastball's down 2 miles per hour. Not ideal, but again, as we mentioned, he's somewhat out of the rotation. But in general, you look at MacArthur. He's got a 3.09. You look at Schreiber, 0.82, Stratton, 3.27, Zerpa, a 1 run in 9 innings. I actually was laughing because you said, he's not a setup guy. I don't know if he gets there, but if you're telling me it's the 8th inning and 2 out of 3 are lefties, is he going up there? He might. Like, this bullpen is starting to get deeper, and you're right with the roles, but now they found a lefty, at least in my opinion, you can trust later in games. And no, it's not Will Smith. But that's what you do early on. That's why everyone who might not have watched since UConn was rolling teams might still think this bullpen is atrocious. They were feeling out, and Will Smith, you're right. That's why he's been on 3 straight World Series teams, because he's a guy who is putting the team first. He's not a guy who says it's me, because even those years, it's not like he was the best pitcher on those teams. He got hot for the playoffs last year in October, but he wasn't the guy all year long. Jose Leclerc, I believe, was a closer for the majority of the season, right?
Yeah, and he took over for good in that Texas run.
So, again, this is what this team is building. It's a lot of young guys. There's a veteran who's a leader, and it's not Jose Guillen out there. No one remembers Jose Guillen in the...
Oh, I'm...
Yeah, no, I just, he was...
getting into arguments with fans.
Bleep the fans, I think, is one of the things
for
he said.
dogging it down the first baseline.
They booed him, and he's bleep the fans. Like, I don't know that that's the right strategy to take. I also didn't really agree with the boos with dogging it, since he did have a quad injury that he was also playing through. He gets a ground ball right to second baseman, and he's dealing with a quad.
There's 162 of these. You don't need to be busting it down the line to second base.
Salvi ain't busting it down the line every time, and he ain't getting booed, nor should he. So that's a conversation for a different time. But it is an oldie but a goodie. It is a throwback. It is a throwback to when the crowd booed him. But it's like, come on, man, he's battling a quad injury. Anyway, as we look at this bullpen as well. Last night, let's talk about specifically last night and the strategy that went along with it, because bringing in MacArthur for 2 innings to get the save, if you bring him in for 2 innings for the save, that can't be, I wouldn't guess it would be gut feel of, you know what, let's just do this now, as opposed to before the game, the strategy with the pitching coaches, everybody else that's around, and saying, what do we do here late in the game, because we've lost 3 in a row, and if we've got a lead, who do we throw out there? And if we've got to go early, If Waka doesn't have it, where are we going? How are we going? What's the setup? Because I don't think you go into a game last night and go, okay, well, Waka doesn't have it. Now, hey, guys, let's huddle together. What are we going to do? What do you want to do? Is Stratton maybe? Schreiber? You want to throw Nick Anderson? Zerpa? Nizianda? Do we go down? Do we call somebody up from the minor leagues right now, and see if they can get here in time? What do we do? Let's figure this thing out. And the fact that they went Stratton, Schreiber, and then MacArthur to bring him in for a 2-inning save says a couple of things. One, there's a plan and a strategy that goes along with that, and a plan of attack beforehand. And maybe even more important, that there was a recognition, I think, from Matt Quatraro of how important last night's game was, just to get that win. And not, we may need MacArthur tomorrow. I don't want to use him in 2 innings if we need to use him tomorrow. I mean, what if he pitches like 30 pitches in these 2 innings? We can't have him for tomorrow's game to close. Well, tomorrow's not here. And right now you got a chance to win this game, to break the losing streak, get a good feeling going. And I liked what I saw last night from Quatraro in using the bullpen there and saying, game 24 matters. Yes, 162 matters, but game 24 matters as well. And if we're serious about trying to compete and wanting to win a division, and Cleveland keeps freaking winning, okay, so we got to try to keep pace at some point with them. They keep winning. This game matters, and we got a chance to go and win it. So we're going to put the guy that I trust the most out there for 2 innings.
I think Matt Quatraro might be the most tactical manager the Royals have ever had, and that was kind of the hope coming over from Tampa Bay, that the way they had assembled their team, that they could win games like this where your starter only goes 4 1/3 there. You got to go to it early, but we've seen this change where I think in the past, even under Ned Yost, there were guys that they just didn't use until the 7th, 8th, and 9th. And it was easy when you have HDH, right? It was just give me Franklin Morales or Ryan Madsen for the 6th, then we've got it locked down the final 3. When you don't have that, you have to use guys maybe earlier than you want to. James MacArthur, I think, was actually warming up Saturday when the Royals were coming up, like to come in the 7th or 8th inning. And it wasn't that Matt Quatraro was going, well, it's close. We feel like, he's the best matchup guy. It's that here comes the best part of the lineup. It's close. We need our best pitcher in that spot. And last night, that's why they went with Schreiber in the 6th instead of saving him for the 8th to bridge the gap to MacArthur, because they had to use Schreiber there. They didn't try to sneak one in there with putting somebody out there like a Nick Anderson again, where it's, well, it's only the 6th inning. We don't want to burn our guys. No, if you're facing the meat of the order and you have a 1-run lead, you just took that lead. Yeah, they went with Stratton. He got the shutdown inning, but then it's still a 1-run game. You want to go to your best guy in that spot. And if it's a little bit earlier, that's all right. And in that 8th inning, I love that Matt Quatraro said, MacArthur hasn't pitched since last week. It was game 1 of the doubleheader against Chicago.
6 days since he's been out there.
He's fresh, right? So he could go 2 innings there, but it wasn't this, well, do we want to burn him? There's 2 more games in this series. We don't have an off day on Thursday. We got to play in Detroit Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then we're back playing Toronto. It's going to be a tough spot to manage that. But he also, as you said, knew how important this game was. They had to kind of end this streak at this point. And if it meant going to your best arms a little bit earlier, that's still the best way to go about it. If it failed last night, it still was the right move.
Because, Sterling talks about this, and I've talked about it as well. Like when, we're dealing with like little league kids, I talk to my son all the time, process over results. Like, okay, yeah, I hit the ball hard, right? But, the swing was pretty ugly there, or you did this, or you stepped in the bucket and you hit it, so that worked that time, but it's not going to work when that pitch is on the outside part of the plate and you're not protecting there. Process over results. Well, great swing, yeah, but I fouled it off. Right, but just stick with what you're supposed to do, and you talk about it as well because, being a part of the process there in Philadelphia, but that process of I'm bringing in MacArthur for the 8th inning, I'm going with Schreiber in the 7th because, damn it, I need this guy, and I'm not going to hold him. I'm not going to bring in, Anderson here in the 7th inning because Schreiber's my 8th inning guy and MacArthur's my 9th inning guy. I haven't thrown MacArthur in a while. And also, one of the things that always used to bother me we can't have him throw two innings because then he's not available for tomorrow. Well, you can't predict how many pitches it's going to take. He threw 20 pitches last night in 2 innings. He would be available today. I think he's available today. He threw 20 pitches last night. If he threw 20 pitches in 1 inning, would we say, well, he's not available tonight because he threw 20 pitches in the 9th inning? No, he'd be available tonight. So you never know what's going to happen and how quickly somebody can work through those particular innings. And so even the process of that and the strategy of it, if it didn't work out, I'd still be here today saying I love the decisions that were made by that it didn't work out last night. But if you do it again more times than not, I feel pretty good that it's going to work out.
Well, yeah, it's also the hypotheticals of, okay, yeah, because what if we have the lead tomorrow night? Well, what if you lose 5-0 and you didn't use your best pitchers? Like, I always find that absurd. It's like when people don't call timeouts. Like, what do? Take them for the second half? You don't get those later. They're not there. Use them. So use your guys. He did a great job using his guys. Going back to what James MacArthur brings to the table as well, we knew this was part of his game, being able to go 2 innings. He's done this a lot in the minors, done it a few times in the majors. You know, he bounced back as a starter and reliever in the minors a lot, but even in his relieved appearances, he was throwing 2 innings, occasionally 3. This is what James MacArthur brings to the table. He's, again, a very unique closer, very different. He's not the 98, 1 inning, wild, a lot of strikeouts. He's precise. 2 walks this year. He had 2 walks all of last year. Remember, I was bringing that statistic up. Not going to strike out a lot of guys, but he's also a guy that can give you 2 innings. If he is your best reliever, I think you're going to take that.
But he's also keeping the ball on the ground too. So I mean, it's like he's not striking out a lot of guys, but he's giving up a lot of fly balls. Well, I don't really like that combination of not striking out guys and fly balls and line drives. He's not striking out a lot of guys. He's not walking anybody, and he's keeping the ball on the ground. You know, it's hitting the first part of the grass, not the grass after the dirt.
83rd percentile in ground ball rate.
Yeah,
It's the guy I think always knew was going to take over that role. I even thought if Will Smith started the year hot, in the end, if you were contending, you were playing better ball, you got to get to the guy who can give you even a little bit of the swing and miss. And James MacArthur, for being honest, has been the Royals' best bullpen arm for. You go back to last year, the beginning of September to now.
I was gonna say,
it's not close, right? I know there's a lot of new guys in there, but honestly, this is the guy that you wanted moving forward.
Yep. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, wrap up the hour coming up in the next segment. We'll get into some Chiefs football. We'll talk about potential trades and what the strategy would be, what the value would be with certain players that might be there. That comes up in the 11 o'clock hour at noon. We'll go through the mock draft simulator, and we will pause it at different parts in the draft to see what would we do. Would we trade? What would it take to trade? Who's the player we might trade for? Is it worth it? We'll do that coming up at noon. Mick Schaefer, 1 o'clock, more Zone next. this room that could have had massive breaking news. NFL massive breaking news. But important information was specifically, and let's say purposefully, held from him, where he could have broken. He could have been the real Adarn Schefter. Well, let's check this guy's. Or how many? Well, I can't say who it is, so I can't even ask. I got to say it on the other side of the break, okay? But there was a very close. Oh, Dylan just giving it away by putting him on the video screen. A very. If you're streaming right now, or you're watching on the tube or whatever. Oh nope! Now we're throwing you off. Who might it be? I don't know. Johnson, Dylan Michaels. We had up until 2 o'clock. So we said as we went to break there in the previous hour that there is breaking news in the NFL. And it's a pretty big deal because contract worthy and the numbers of the contract, Tyreek Hill-esque contract. So we tell you it's a wide receiver there. It may not be who people think would be getting this huge deal. It's like, well, you know what? The 49ers and Brandon Ayuk, the Bengals and T. Higgins. These teams are going through these. Are they going to trade them tomorrow night? Are they going to trade them before tomorrow night? These wide receivers want new deals, and there might be some issues with the team. Well, there's a wide receiver that signed a 4-year, $120 million contract in breaking news that just took place. Now, Sterling Holmes, yeah, there you go. Now, we'll tell you who that is if you don't know, but Sterling Holmes, you do
I'm your co-host.
you do a lot of different things in terms of podcasts, and you get a chance to interview some NFL players, some prospects. So last week we heard on Friday your conversation with Ladd McConkey, your conversation with Julian Edelman. You've talked with Jared Goff. You have talked with very recently, let's say, I don't know, an hour ago.
Yeah.
With a man by the name of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, there's breaking news at about 10:55 that Amon-Ra St. Brown has signed a massive 4-year, $120 million contract, $30 million annual average value, Tyreek Hill-esque. T. Higgins is going to want the bag. Brandon Ayuk is going to want the bag for how much now wide receivers are going for, which we can talk about the impact of this as to whether or not you do need to take a wide receiver in the draft, because look at how much money they're going for. So maybe you do need to get a high-level wide receiver for 4 years or whatever. So we can talk about what the impact is. But you just talked to Amon-Ra St. Brown at 9:50 and got done with that conversation at 10 o'clock. Now 10:50 is when the news broke. I'm assuming you guys talked about this massive contract that he had just signed.
Yeah, first team All-Pro last year, 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns. He
That's
gets
right.
a large contract. No, surprisingly, Amon-Ra St. Brown did not give me that information.
Yeah.
The sun god, what are you doing? Why couldn't you have let me bin Adam Schefter for one moment? Why could you have not given me... In fairness, I don't think he'd signed the contract at that point. I am assuming.
You think, hold on. So you think you talked with Amon-Ra St. Brown
prior.
You got done at 10 o'clock talking with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you think he went from that interview to go inside? Was he doing it from like the GM's office?
Well,
like the
it
Zoom
did look
there?
like, I'll show you the background. It sure enough looked like it. Wood paneling background. It looks like a GM's office.
He's at Ford Field right now. We know he's at Ford Field right now because he just posted on Instagram, "What's up, Detroit? I'm at Ford Field. 4 more years. Let's do it. Let's get it." I don't know what events are taking place right now. I know that obviously the draft is there, but I don't know what events, because there was a lot of background noise on the IG story of him being at Ford Field. He's like, everybody's here at Ford Field, and let's get it for the next 4 years. What's up, Detroit? And he just posted that on IG.
Yeah.
So he was clearly around some higher-ups
he
did that interview with you.
Yeah, of
so
course.
One of two things happened. Either he'd agreed to this contract and knew that it was going to break, and then did an interview with you, which, by the way, is pretty badass for you. Did an interview with you knowing this guy's like, I'm getting $30 million. I just signed a $120 million contract, but I'm going to play it cool. Do I still look high? I'm going to play it cool. All right, I'm good. All right, cool. Let's do this interview. Hey, man, what's up? No, I'm just over here just living the dream, just getting ready to Pro Bowl. Detroit was fun last year. We'll see what we can do. And then leave there, and you've already signed the contract, or it was in the works. They were finalizing the details, and he's like, "Agent, I'll be right back with you. I'm going to go tape this interview with Sterling Holmes in Kansas City. I'll be right back. Hold the negotiations real quick. I got to head to this other room." And then he came back and signed it. What do you think? You talked with him. Now, I guess there's an embargo on the conversation. You're forced to keep it to yourself.
Some of it, yeah. But Jason Bateman couldn't have acted that well. Like, if you sign a contract for $120 million, I'm sorry, I'm not talking to me. I'm not even part of the Detroit media. I'm in Kansas City.
I'll be honest with you, Sterling. If I sign a $120 million contract, I'll talk to anybody at any time. It doesn't matter. So I will talk to you for $120 million.
Sure.
I know.
I
get what you're saying.
Maybe he did. Maybe he did, and he is a great poker face because he was excited to be on the interview, but it was nothing. It wasn't out here jumping like he was 8 minutes late though, to the interview. I will say that.
Oh, there it is. He was 8 minutes late. This dude had already signed the contract.
He was 8 minutes late, and if it was for 120 mil, and I was a little, you know how it gets sometimes. I have this show going on at 10. I had to be done, so I had a hard out.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here going, is he gonna be late? Amon-Ra St. Brown is a punctual man. That's a man who's been on time.
Look at his route running. He's on time.
He's on time. So is that 8 minute late because he was signing that contract? Could be.
Yes.
Could be.
Of course it was. Right? Is there any other explanation for him to be late? 8 minutes late? I mean, you got to read through the fine print and all that stuff and the details, but you know what it was? He's like, look, I got this interview coming up. At what time was it supposed to start? 9:45?
9:40. And it started at 9:48.
Hey, I got this interview at 9:40. Let's go ahead and get this done. And they got it done at 9:40. He signed it, and then they celebrated, and they were hugging and everything. And then he's like, all right, I got to go. I can play this off. All right, dry my eyes and everything. Come on, let's get ready for this interview. Hi, Sterling. What's up, man? No, I'm just sitting over here broke as a joke. You know, can't even afford to be an elf. You know, certainly not not Santa Claus.
When he hopped on that interview, did he say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I'm late a little bit"?
No. He was.
Sorry, I'm late. Sorry about that.
Because you could have been that guy and go, hey, no problem, man, but why are you making me wait here? And he would have been forced to either lie to you or say,
well, now I know.
Hey, no problem, man. It's all good.
Everyone I talk to from now on who's even close to contract negotiations, I'm bringing this up. That's going to be my starting line. You're early? Why you early? You have to hop off early to sign a contract extension? Is that why?
If you talk to Brandon Ayuk anytime soon, you need to ask, so I'm just wondering, you're right on time. Is that because you're very punctual that now you're paid? You're a little bit late. Did you just sign a contract? You know, you're early. Are you getting this in so then you can go and sign the contract? Like, what's the deal as to why this time you are showing up and talking with me?
I will say it was pretty cool talking with him. One of the things I talked about, again, I'm doing a podcast for Sports Radio 810 called Around the NFL. First one just dropped. If you want to follow me on Twitter at HomestretchKC, you can check it out. But the first thing I brought up was I talked to Jared Goff last week, okay? Talked to Goff. I said, just so you know, Jared, Amon-Ra St. Brown speaks 3 languages. He speaks German. Have you ever thought about trying to confuse the defenses? You audible at the line of scrimmage, and you just give some German commands, the plays in German. He goes, I have not thought of that. I need to bring that up to him. Well, when I talked to Amon, the first question I asked him is, you know, I talked to Jared last week, pretty good idea. He seemed to enjoy it. Do you have any play calls in German? And he goes, literally last week, must have been the second you got off the phone call with Jared, he texted me and said, we need to work on some plays in German. I want to work on some audibles in German. So I'm out here. I'm an OC. I didn't get the scoop there, but I might be creating
You're becoming
language barriers.
You're becoming a Lions insider here, like all of a sudden. You talk to Jared Goff. So if we hear, this is legit though, I actually do believe this to be of a connection. A correlation causation. I don't think this is a coincidence. I think it's correlation causation. If we hear an audible in German next year, that's clearly you.
Yes, I would think so. Yes.
Because if it was just random, he would have done it last year. They would have already thought to do it last year. He hadn't thought of that. You brought it up with him. Then he contacts Amon-Ra saying, hey, I'm learning some German so I can make some audibles and some play calls in German so people know what it is, and it'll be specifically for you and maybe some other wide receivers. If that happens, that is a direct correlation to you, and you're the last person to talk to Amon-Ra St. Brown before it was announced he is the now highest paid wide receiver in the history of the NFL.
Yeah. And I love my producer, just so nice, texting me, this man interviewed with you and then immediately went and signed a contract extension. Yeah, thanks, Sean. Appreciate that,
You
man.
should reply and say, no, he was 8 minutes late. He signed it before I talked with him, and he is one hell of an actor, and he acted like he didn't just get $77 million guaranteed, which is, by the way, $2 million more guaranteed than Cooper Kupp, who had already set the record for wide receivers. So now the fact that Amon-Ra St. Brown has tied with the most annual average value with Tyreek Hill at $30 million per year, but he's got $5 million more guaranteed dollars than Tyreek got, $2 million more what was the previous record. That makes him the highest paid wide receiver in the history of the league. is this fourth rounder in Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I think Sterling also, too. This might be a trickle-down effect that you told Goff, if he's done that. Now he's going to start audibling in German to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Does that mean if a number one cornerback is on him, he is then told to learn German as well each week so that he can figure out the audible?
And the Chiefs played in Germany, and they didn't even learn German
There
for
you
that.
go.
You know what? And then
It's a trickle-down effect.
It's a
butterfly
trickle-down effect where now the United States is going to have to learn German, and we become
To
very
defend him.
cultured. We learn so many different languages. It's going to be great. Okay. He also speaks French, so maybe this is a
They're
trick.
just giving
now
away
if
all
they
the
go to-
tricks now.
So now if they go to French, it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, now it's
It's like when Kobe learned how to trash talk in Spanish, so he could. Who was it? It was. Oh man, I'm forgetting who. Luis Scola. Yeah, he could trash talk Luis Scola. He learned Spanish.
Dude, that's like, all right, I'm a big fan of The Other Guys.
Yeah,
All right.
great movie.
And so it's like, hold on, you learned to dance ironically? Hold on, you learned Spanish just to talk trash to this
To
guy?
dance like that sarcastically?
That's right, you learned to dance like that sarcastically. You learned Spanish just to talk trash to a guy on the court? I appreciate the hustle. I totally appreciate that drive. That is a different. Some people learn a different language because they simply want to learn a different language, or maybe they start firing other, neurons in your synapses in your brain by learning different languages. He's doing it because he just wants to talk smack to that guy and get in that guy's head. And the only way he can get in that guy's head is through his language. No language barrier anymore. Basketball is a language for everybody. You can speak basketball on the floor. Everybody knows that. But I can actually speak his language and get inside his head and let him know that I am so engulfed in breaking you down. I learned Spanish just so it'll help me beat you. Take that there, Scola.
I love how you said basketball is just a common language. It is. There's also common sayings that go with it that just make me laugh. Do you remember Jermaine Jones? Probably not. He played for the Lakers, Sixers. I played basketball with him on some Sunday mornings when I lived in Philly, and he
Big Hollywood star.
How about
over
this?
here.
Jermaine Jones, come on now. But
Yeah.
my favorite thing he would do
Was that when he
is,
as he was 50 years old,
yes,
or
he
was that
he
a
was
younger?
40 something, and he was
was
cooking
old.
dudes. He made a European player leave the gym because he was getting cooked. The European player was currently playing like overseas. That's how good these NBA players
So
are.
he
by the
sent
way.
him back to Europe.
Basically,
I
the guy
can't beat a
left. He kept- he
43-year-old
kept-
bench warmer. I'm done.
He just kept saying, "Yo, whose baby is this? Whose baby?" And I go, it really is a common language when you play basketball. Whose baby? That's what he would say to anyone.
To
who would
you?
no, and I was on his team. Who was
Oh,
trying to
okay.
guard him or
Did you turn any of his dimes into nickels?
turn him to quarters?
No, you didn't. No, you did not.
I could just shoot.
Dude, I dropped a dime and you missed a layup, man. Thank you.
You think I'm going in the paint?
That's a great point. That's a really good point. You know what?
Come on.
No,
That-
no, that's great. But any passes that were right in the pocket that you missed, right in the shooter's pocket, great pass from
You think
Jones
I
cross
missed
court.
Jason? Come on.
I hope you would miss Jason.
I
know, it
miss
depends
you
on
all
how
the
long-
time. Yeah.
how long we've
we're
been apart.
Every weekend.
Yeah, that's right.
But I always love whose baby,
That's a great line.
and then he with us. Anytime the opposing team shoots, he with us.
That's a great line.
Basketball common language.
By the way, look, this is a sort of an aside, but looking at the annual average value of wide receivers in the NFL, so Tyreek and Amon-Ra St. Brown are now tied at $30 million apiece. After that is Devontae Adams. After that is Cooper Kupp. And coming in fifth is A.J. Brown. What's interesting about that, if we look at the top five, is that it's only one first rounder. You get Tyreek in the fifth round, and even without the off the field stuff, he wasn't going to be a first rounder because he was a special teamer, right? He played running back, he played wide receiver, he was a returner. Amon-Ra, fourth rounder, Cooper Kupp, a third rounder, Devontae Adams, a second rounder, and then A.J. Brown, a first rounder. And if you go down even more, you've got Devontae Smith, top 10. So A.J. Brown was pick 18, 16? I'm trying to think of where
believe it was the late
where
teens.
Titans, where they took Burks from Arkansas after they traded A.J. Brown. It was the late teens, though. It was after 15, before 20.
It was 16.
16, okay. Devontae Smith, top 10. DK Metcalf, which if my memory serves, I believe he was a second rounder taken somewhere after McCole Hardman. Okay, if memory serves correct. Yes, memory does serve correct. So you've got DK Metcalf, a second rounder. Then after DK Metcalf, in terms of annual average value, is Deebo Samuel, second rounder. After Deebo Samuel is Michael Pittman, second rounder. Calvin Ridley, first rounder. Terry McLaurin, third rounder. Stephon Diggs, for whatever reason, it's not ringing a bell as to where Stephon Diggs was drafted. I don't know.
I think.
I don't know why.
I thought it was a fifth.
It was day 3, but I'm trying to think of. I think you're right on the 5th round pick. I'm gonna go with 5th rounder because I think it was day 3.
5th round. I'm looking right here. 5th round.
So it's day 3. T. Higgins, second rounder. We've mentioned 3 first rounders, and we're 12 guys deep in this one. I mean, DJ Moore, first rounder. So there you go. So now we're at 4. Like, I mean, is there something to take away from that when we talk about, wide receivers? Or are we looking at maybe the more recent ones are the first round wide receivers that we're looking at, and we're getting more first rounders closer to now, and some of the more recent first-round wide receivers haven't had chances to have that $30, $35 million because, T. Higgins is just on the franchise tag as a second-rounder, but a high-end second-rounder as, the first pick of the second round. That one hurts. Some would say one pick right after Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But like Jamar Chase is going to get paid. Justin Jefferson is going to get paid. Those guys are going to be 1 and 2 in some order, and you're going to say, oh, the top 2 are both first-rounders that were legit players that, another team. So you got one team that traded a wide receiver for a first rounder that killed it, and another team that traded a wide receiver for a first rounder that got killed. You got Justin Jefferson and Burks, Minnesota and Tennessee.
I think what you're getting at is the Chiefs should just draft a wide receiver in all of the first
Day
5
3.
rounds. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
I see what you're saying.
Just get all wide receivers, then have a
and pay 'em
battle
all.
royale.
And then pay them all.
Pay them all.
Yeah, why not? Why not? It's never been done before. It's a great strategy. Try something
Was that
different.
what you were getting at, Jason? I thought
That's what I'm
that
going
was
with.
The game plan? Or?
Yes, I'm going with draft a wide receiver in every round and then pay every single one of them. And just figure it out. Score 100 points a game. If you score 100, there's no way a defense is going to give up 100. Now, I did just mention you were scoring 100, so therefore a defense absolutely legitimately would be giving up 100.
The paradox there, Jason.
But don't worry about the logic of that. What I'm saying is if you score 100, your defense will not give up 100. That's all I'm saying. Score 100 per game. 21 and 17, 20 0? 20 0.
Checks out.
Lock it up. Championship. Go and wrap it up right now. 20 0. Who says no? Who says no to drafting a wide receiver in every single round and then no matter what, paying them at the end of the 5th-year option and then 4 years? So, yeah, that's just my strategy. That's just smart. That's what that is. Surround. You don't need offensive linemen if you're just throwing the ball quickly to wide receivers. Who needs an offensive line?
They're all eligible.
Yes, come on.
What was that one play? Was the Colts did it when they had just the center and quarterback and everyone else lined up, and then he immediately got sacked?
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't the Colts
Wasn't that McAfee?
Was that Pat McAfee?
Yeah, it was the
punt?
Colts. It was if it was the punt that you're thinking about. Yeah, it was McAfee and the Colts in one of the craziest, dumbest attempted fake punts ever.
Yeah, there was a no-go call that was called and then wasn't heard. So the center, the most important person that's supposed to hear it, didn't hear it, snapped the ball.
Wasn't there one, though, with Dallas where Zeke got steamrolled?
That's what it was, too. I think Zeke did.
Where Zeke just got steamrolled?
Yeah.
Like,
that one... That
2
was
years ago?
Yes. That was the last play of the divisional against the Niners, I think it was.
Okay.
And
because they were trying to do some crazy, like, throw the ball around, hook and ladder, and then Zeke got just trucked.
Yeah, exactly.
He got destroyed on that one. Yeah, that's the one you're thinking of as well.
So that's Jason's offensive coordinator game plan is if you draft all these wide receivers, you run that play every time.
And one of those wide receivers is Xavier Legette, so you put him in the backfield. So now you've got your running back wide receiver. You got a tight end wide receiver. You know, you
Where's
got
Holmes fit into this game plan?
he's the
here,
quarterback.
Jason? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
don't know what you're talking about. He's the quarterback.
I thought
it's just like
you had
7
11 wide receivers.
No,
out
it's
here,
just like
Jason.
7-on-7. Creed Humphrey just snaps the ball right back to him, and then sits there in his crouch, just snaps the ball and stays there and looks around. It's like, what a great snap by this fella right there. What's his name? Creed. I don't think we need to pay him. We're not getting much out of him. Plus, I mean, the snaps would have to be good. That would be his one job. Hopefully, if that's his one job and he doesn't have to do anything else, the snaps would be perfect at that point. Because then you just snap it and stay crouched, right? Mm-hmm. And then you just throw the ball. It's new age football. It's 7-on-7. I mean,
football.
Yeah, right. I mean, Herm Edwards hated it. This is not arena football. You can't just score every time you touch the ball. It's complimentary football.
Do you think Herm hates watching the Chiefs right now offensively?
You play to score less points. You play. It's arena football. What was that about Herm?
You think Herm just hates? He's just punching air, just going. The Chiefs shouldn't score this many points. They shouldn't do this.
I think he's probably more punching air that Jaden Daniels is going to be a top 5 pick, and he recruited him to Arizona State, and it didn't work there the way that it did at LSU. It's probably punching air more with that. That's like, I got that guy. I recognize. But did you or did like your pro player personnel that you had, because he had a GM, like, well, I'm the sort of the coach over here, but then we got a GM that covers like all of the. It was a different way of going about it, but they did find a top 5 quarterback in the draft. I mean, with that, so got that going for him, and he had a NFL head coach on his staff, and Antonio Pierce. That's now the head coach of the Raiders. So he had a couple. I mean, it wasn't all that bad, and now they're heading to the Big 12. So it all worked out. All worked out in the end. I don't know what that last part has to do with anything other than Sterling Holmes had the story of the day, but was misled by apparently what you said was a really nice guy who was enthusiastic about the interview, but apparently was enthusiastic about the interview because he had just been given $77 million earned $77 million guaranteed and a $30 million annual average value over 4 years, $120 million contract, 4 years. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Hey, Bryce saw me and goes, this dude I cannot tell because he is going to ask me for money. This dude is going to ask me.
No, with that hair and the polo shirt you're wearing, this guy's fine.
The way you dress.
This guy's taken care of.
Maybe
Maybe manage the money.
What's your portfolio looking like, Sterling? I've just come into some money. I just finished up my 4th round rookie deal.
I have some video game software that we could invest in with a pitcher if you wanted to try that, maybe.
Oh, man. Well, who was the NBA player, Walker, that had the $100 million or whatever that he's bankrupt now?
Walker Kessler?
No, last name.
Antoine Walker?
Yeah, bigger guy. Right?
Antoine Walker?
Yeah, ended up eating his former self. Works with the SEC network now.
Yeah, Antoine Walker. Yeah.
I felt bad for him, like when you actually, because people made fun of him and it was like, the guy made $120 million and then he was bankrupt. I felt bad for him because he talked about he had an inability to say no. Like his family and friends, like he was paying everything because the money was just going to keep going. This is in the 90s, right? This dude had a monthly bill for his friends and family's phone and cars of $300,000 a month. That's what he was paying for his friends and family's cars and phones and everything.
$3.6 million a year.
Because he couldn't say no. And then another part that people don't realize in that one is he had 2 lawsuits out because 2 different managers stole money from him. Because you expect to trust those guys, sort of Shohei Ohtani, right? But he didn't have that much money. He had a couple of investment deals that went belly up in the 2008 market crash. So it's like he made 120, but it wasn't like he was just out being dumb. He said the biggest mistake that he made was, not saying no. The other ones were just investments of like, I've got this money, I'm investing in real estate, I'm investing in this business. I've got a friend who's a manager that now has stolen money from me, and the next thing you know, you're out. You're done. And
so not saying no. boils it all down as well.
Exactly. Not saying no to my friends, my manager. This investment opportunity over there. Yeah, let's do that. This is the way to diversify, over there. And my friends are taken care of because I got this investment over there. That's going to keep earning money.
This was before all the information that we have about all this now, where all these kids, unfortunately, the people that never talk to them come out of the woodwork. On days like today, like on Ross St. Brown, we'll have plenty of people. Like we joke about it with Sterling, there will be people that will come and show up and have all these ideas for that money.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that should be at every rookie symposium is learn to say no.
Yeah.
Learn to say no. Learn to, I know there is, because I think that goes to like, hey, you know what? He cared. He had a big heart, and he wanted to bring everybody with him. Like he wanted everybody to experience what he was experiencing. I get that, but you can't do that. If you want to be able to experience it for your life, you just can't do that. I mean, now some investments may work out. Amon-Ra St. Brown may say to everybody, yes, because I've got, $77 million guaranteed, and I'm going to invest in certain things, and it's going to work out. It's going to be just fine. Not realizing right around the corner was a recession and a crash and the real estate and housing industry just going belly up. And a lot of people lost a lot of money in that. A lot of people lost a lot of investments in that weren't just dumb and look at these NBA players that are just spending all this stupid money.
I will say he did get robbed at one point, which is not great.
At one point or gunpoint?
At gunpoint and at one point,
okay.
Yeah. Not only that, though, he did have allegedly a very large amount of gambling debt. So I don't think he actually helped himself.
He wasn't. It wasn't to where he made every right decision. Yeah, He was spending money like you weren't going to lose it, like it was never going to go away, but he also had some things that probably should have been able to continue to earn and make money, right? When you're wealthy enough to where your money makes money, you had a number of those things there that it was like, well, I'll have this that will be a lifetime continual thing that I can have some fun with this income that is a sizable amount, but I'm not risking my entire future because I've got that over there.
I now see why he played for a team in Puerto Rico as well as the Idaho Stampede as recently as 2012. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's a sad story. It's a story that people may not feel bad about because you had opportunities. It's also a cautionary tale for guys tomorrow night that are going to see and hear their name drafted, and also. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'm glad that he's learned to say no because you asked him for how much money on the on the podcast?
Just 1%. Just a paltry.
Why would he
1%.
say no to 1%? That's not even $1 million, Amon-Ra. I'm talking about the 77 guaranteed. That's not even $1 million. He can give that up. Dude, I don't like him anymore. That's selfish. That's what that is. That's just a selfish dude that cares about himself only and wasn't worried about your life.
Yeah, if you give me 1%, I will turn that into $200K very quick.
Well, the government will help you. So they'll help you get almost there. They're going to give you $750,000. They're going to take their cut, and then you'll find a way to get that down to 200.
Oh, yeah, it'll be quick.
Hopefully with a nice investment like a car. That something that continues to gain equity.
Yeah, new golf clubs.
Golf clubs, cars, country club memberships, more than you already have, a couple more in your life, things like that, parties, trips to Vegas for you and the guys. Your fiance will, maybe she can go, maybe not. I don't know. She might be busy.
I hear drinking bourbon's a good investment, too.
It's a great investment.
You know how some people buy bourbon and they keep it? But what am I going to do? I'm going to at least drink it.
Yeah, if you're going to get this great bottle of bourbon, why would you not drink it? Well, probably because it doesn't taste all that good. But, that's just an investment is what that is. You buy that bottle, that's just to invest and sell it later. You don't buy Pappy to open it up and drink it, right? Right? Nobody actually likes Pappy. Right?
I have not been privy to that information of tasting it.
You've never tasted it?
Surprisingly, I've not had that.
I don't know that I've ever heard somebody go, you know what, that was worth the $200 that I just paid for that shot. For that glass of
only 200 for Pappy.
Well, I just made that up. I think it's probably more. I don't think it's just I want to know what all the hubbub is about. Well, what it's about is that it's rare. That's what it's about. It's not about, oh my God, it's so good. It's like this 75 bottle of wine that blah, 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 from this season of grapes, and it's the greatest tasting wine ever, and you got to have it. It's like, no, it's just rare, and it's become a collectible.
It's not that different.
Yeah, it's like a car.
I don't know.
Yeah, just the smart thing is just to buy cars that always gain equity. Just lots and lots of cars. I will need to borrow a few bucks from you, Sterling.
Same.
Yeah.
Why me?
Because you just got
You got his
1%
phone
of
number.
Amon-Ra St. Brown's
Right?
contract.
You got his phone number.
Yeah. Plus, I look at that face. You can't say no to me.
I can't say
You
no
can't
to
say
you,
no
Jason.
to me. Thank you. I won't say no to Dylan. We'll break right now. worth of doing that. But he was asked about that on Friday, about trading up to the middle of the first round, if that is something they would have discussed or contemplated already.
I mean, I can envision myself. I mean, got to get the owner's approval on that, but no, I think it changes every year, and I think we have a pretty good plan this upcoming week. But yeah, I think, listen, every situation is unique. I mean, we have had conversations in the last few years about guys that we consider top 5, top 6 prospects if they were to fall into the teens moving up, and got Clark and Andy involved, and they were all in it, and those situations just didn't work out. So I think that I certainly could see something like that. A lot of things have to fall in place, though, for that to happen. So it'd have to be probably a specific guy or two, and then probably getting into a landing spot that's not expected. And then if he does get to that landing spot that's not expected, the team is willing to work with you on a trade that makes sense. So certainly can see it. A lot of things have to happen and fall in place to see an outcome like that. But I always think anything's possible.
I love the part where he's self-aware and said, well, I can certainly see myself trading up to the middle of the first round. I mean, are you kidding me? I can see myself trading up to number 1. I can see myself doing a lot of I could see myself getting Ricky Williams by trading the entire draft. Yes, I could see myself doing those things. But also it has to be very specific. It'll have to be a certain player. It has to be the right spot, and the other team would have to play ball. You would have to have a cooperative in this whole thing that you can go and move up and make this deal. The question I would have, though, is there anybody that realistically at 16, okay? Because 15 is the Colts. I don't know that the Colts are going to want to trade. If we're talking about AFC teams don't want to trade with the Chiefs, and they're chasing them, so blah, blah, blah. So number 16 is Seattle, and they seem to be in a position to where they're trying to collect more draft picks, okay? They want to continue to rebuild. They've done some of those things, so maybe Seattle is a team. After that is Jacksonville, then Cincinnati. So if you're not trading up to 16, I don't think you're trading up until you get to 19. So you got a couple of other picks. Also, Cincinnati might be looking for an offensive lineman or a wide receiver, depending on T. Higgins. So you might want to get up and trade ahead of them. So Seattle is who I've landed on at number 16. People have said 15 because it's right in the middle of the teens, but 16 is literally the middle part of the entire draft. Doing the math when it comes to the trade value charts, it would take pick 32, obviously, but you would also give up a third this year, your third rounder next year for L'Jarius Sneed, and a fifth rounder. So you would have a first rounder, you would have your first rounder and second rounder, and then you would still have your fourth, 2 fifths, and a seventh. First and second, fourth, 2 fifths, and a seventh. But you'd give up a first rounder this year, third rounder this year, your third rounder next year, L'Jarius Sneed, and a fifth rounder to move up to number 16.
Right now, I'm on NFL.com. They did a whole mock draft. 16, again, I think, according to Brett Veach's comments, it's making me believe if they are going to trade up, the previous comments, it's going to be for a tackle.
Yeah.
A tackle, right? I don't think it's going to be for a wide receiver. I don't think if Brock Bowers starts falling, then all of a sudden they're going to trade up and give all that draft capital for a tight end. I think it'd be a tackle. Well, the Seahawks at pick 16, again, according to NFL.com, Fatanu, the tackle from Washington, right?
Which people think may move to guard, but I would take him as a tackle, and then, but I wouldn't trade up and use all those picks unless I know for a fact, for certain, I'm trading up there because I have a conviction about this guy as my left tackle.
Yes.
For the future.
So just again,
and this year too, by the way.
Yes.
My left tackle.
It can't be for the future.
He's my left tackle starting on that Thursday game against what I still am guessing is the Texans.
So you have Fashanu, who they have going 14th, but let's just say those guys are switched, right? If
Fashanu's there, then
you're doing that, right?
Take my money.
They have. Let's just go ahead and say maybe it's not quite that high. What if Amarius Mims is going 20th to the Steelers? A little less.
Well,
would you do that for Amarius Mims at that point?
You'd have to get ahead of that. If he's going 20th to the Steelers, and they probably want him, so you'd have to get to the Rams at 19, which would probably take this year's first. So this year's first is
fairly close. It's going to be a fairly close.
It would probably
that
take
fifth. You knock that fifth off.
So you would probably change the fifth to a fourth. So you'd probably have to give up 32 to get up to 19, and then you'd have to give up the L'Jarius Sneed third and a fourth rounder this year.
Sure.
So you'd get up there to 19, and you would have your first, second, third round pick, and then 2 fifths and a seventh. And then you would have a third rounder next year. Still, it's not like you're giving up a third rounder for next year, which I don't think is smart. I wouldn't want to do that, even though you're hoping that it's the almost worst third rounder because you'll have the comp pick third round picks, but your worst third round in terms of the snake draft of finish in terms of record, you hope that's the case. That's more palatable to me. But again, if I'm trading up there, I have to believe 100% this guy is my starting left tackle Thursday, game 1, assuming health. Because is he going to be good enough to be worth a third rounder and a fourth rounder? You know, a third rounder next year that you can use to maneuver and things like that. So, or essentially you're saying, is he worth what you got for L'Jarius Sneed in a fourth rounder? Because if L'Jarius Sneed just walked and you were hoping maybe you would get a third rounder for him next year in a comp pick, then you'd say, okay, would it be worth you lose L'Jarius Sneed, he walks, signs somewhere else, and you give up pick 32 and a fourth rounder? To get up to 19, yeah. I would say that'd be worth it. A first and a fourth to get up to 19, hell yeah. But you do have that third rounder that you can use now to move around, or you can just simply use it next year and take extra players. Like if I'm moving up that far, if I'm moving up in the teens, it has to be for my tackle that I know is going to start game number 1.
I think it has to be a home run pick, too. I don't feel like not only for this year, but you can't miss on it in general. I mean, I didn't think the trade package that you brought up is detrimental, right? You're trading your first rounder, you do lose a third rounder next year, and then you say a fifth
rounder
as well. So you still would have your first rounder. You keep your second rounder. There were 2 fifths in there. There was a 7th. So I feel like there's still a number of picks there, but you're exactly right. That means at that point, that we talked about this last week, you are punting on Wanya Morris being your tackle, starting tackle, really at any point. Jawan Taylor's under contract, and this guy who you'd be trading up for would have to be your left tackle of the next, 3 to 4 years, and maybe, let's be honest, the future left tackle for Patrick Mahomes.
If you're trading up, I think you're trading up, and then you're giving him a second contract.
Yeah, it would have to be, as I said, the home run higher, and there are guys you can really like there, but it probably depends on what those first 10 picks look like, because we know Joe Alt is going
7th. I
7th.
don't think he's getting past 7.
Yeah,
so he might go higher, but he's not getting past the
I think he's going 5 to the Chargers. I'd be shocked.
And then
unless Marvin Harrison is there, or J.J. McCarthy. Trade Herbert and get McCarthy for Jim Harbaugh.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Oh, please, I'll take it, as long as Herbert's traded to the NFC. That'd be awesome. I'd love that. I'd love that to be the case.
I think in the latest mock it had McCarthy even going to New England, which would be another tough quarter. Yeah, Charles Davis, or I think who was it?
Yeah, it's Charles Davis.
Charles
Davis
right
now,
mock. Yeah. But then they have a ton of offensive linemen going top 20. They got Amarius Mims going 20th. They had who else here?
J.C. Latham. They have
Fashanu.
Fuaga.
Fashanu.
Oh my.
Yeah.
The 3 Fs.
Yeah, the 3 Fs.
And that, to me, I don't know if you trade up that high unless it is Fashanu.
To me, it's Fashanu.
Or bust.
Yeah.
I don't think you would trade up for Amarius Mims or Latham. I think at that point, if you are going tackle with that 32nd pick, in my opinion, I would just wait for Suamataia at 32. If you are not going to trade up, to me, it would be Fashanu or don't trade up. And then if it does fall in your favor and somehow Marius Mims is available or somehow Latham, I don't think Latham's going to be there either.
But also, I think Latham's a right tackle. That's all he's played in his career is right tackle. Literally the only left tackle he's played is on kicking unit. He plays left tackle on the field goal, unit. That's it. Yep. He's a right tackle. That's all he has played. I don't want to draft a guy who's only played right tackle in his entire career and then say he's my left tackle, especially if I'm trading up to get him. It'd be different if people think Fashanu is going to move to guard. Okay, but he's played 3 years as a starting left tackle for a team that, played in the national championship game. He's been that starting left tackle. Well, you might have to move him to guard. Okay, but at least he's played left tackle. Whereas, Latham at Alabama, well, maybe he could play left tackle, right? But he's never done that. At least Fatanu's done that. And that's why it's where it's Fashanu or it's Fuaga. But really, for me, because I don't think Fuaga's going to be there. I don't think, certainly Joe. If Joe Alt's there, then, again, take all my money. Here it is. Take the money.
It.
Yes, if Joe Alt somehow gets past Tennessee and then other people are like, I don't know, there's something wrong with this Alt fella. I don't know. I would certainly trade it. I'm not trading in the top 10 for Joe Alt. But if Fashanu somehow is there at 16, then yeah, I would give up the 2/3 and a fifth to move up and get that guy because I think he can be a Pro Bowl left tackle.
My concern is a lot of tackles, even phenomenal tackles, it takes them a year to really develop. That transition, I always say tackles and edge rushers or just defensive line, just trenches in general, but specifically on the outside with tackles, it takes a long time to develop. Right? It's not always you plug them in at year one. Okay, they're a rookie. They're now your left tackle. They're going to be a stud. It takes a while. And I wonder if again, the Chiefs are in this situation where they need a left tackle now. Do you believe that Wanya Morris, who had his rookie slumps last year, if he's taken that jump forward? I personally do. I've been a Wanya supporter over here. But that's the one question I have. If you give all that draft capital, you bring in a left tackle, he's still going to have a lot of struggles this year. That does not fix this year's left tackle situation, at least in my opinion.
So what you're saying is, like with Wanya Morris, you hope that he's part of a rookie class that grows from boys to men? we'll go through and, as we were talking about there with what's it worth, who would be worth trading up and getting, and we'll see what, a number of different mock draft simulators may present to the Chiefs at different points in the draft. So we'll kind of we'll pause it and look at different options that are there for the Chiefs. And then if we decide to make a trade and draft somebody, then we'll start it over and see what happens if we don't make that trade and we get later on in the draft. So a number of different scenarios inside, kind of see what we end up doing with those different options and scenarios. We'll do that on the other side of the break. And then Mick Schaefer will join us in the 1 o'clock hour, more zone right after this.
family since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. We will hang out with Mick Schaefer coming up an hour from now. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through the PFF mock draft simulator just to see what some of these things may look like. So what I want to do is look at it from the Chiefs' perspective, obviously. But when it gets to, say, pick 14, 15, 16, because we kind of have an idea of what it would take to get up that high, and see who would be there and if it is something we would want to do. So we'll do it a number of different times because I do want to stop it at pick 16 and then see what ends up happening. So we'll do pick 16. We'll do like early 20s, things like that, maybe late 20s, etc. And then, so here we go. This is where we'll start. We are sitting at pick 16. And at pick 16, the Seattle Seahawks are up. I chose pick 16 because I don't think the Colts are going to trade back with the Chiefs at pick number 15. And 14 may be a little too rich. So here's where we are. Here's where the first 15 picks are, okay? Everybody driving, you make sure you're writing these down.
Don't do that, Jason. Don't even.
Whatever you want to do. It's your guys' choice. Number 1, Caleb Williams. Number 2, Drake May. Number 3, Marvin Harrison Jr. 4, Joe Alt. 5, Malik Neighbors. 6, Roma Dunze. Then Quinion Marshall, Brock Bowers, Byron Murphy, Cooper DeJean, J.J. McCarthy, Dallas Turner, Jaden Daniels, pick 14, Troy Fautanu, pick 15, Fuaga to the Colts from Oregon State. That means right now on the clock, the Seattle Seahawks, but it means Fashanu is there. I just, pressed draft as we were coming back and then paused it at 16. We just literally had this conversation in the previous hour of, okay, so what are you doing at 16 if Fashanu's there? What are you doing at with your draft, with your resources and your picks that you would trade to move up and get Fashanu? So we go around the room. If it takes, well, let's see what it takes. We're going to throw pick 32. We're going to throw 95 in there. We're going to throw next year's third rounder for pick 16. Let's see what happens. Trade was not accepted.
They told you to kick rocks.
They did.
Yeah.
So now let's throw in a fifth rounder this year to see if it gets closer. We're going to offer the trade. Trade not accepted.
They told you to pound sand this time.
Yes. Let's do the fifth rounder for this year. Trade accepted. I pressed the wrong one. I pressed fifth rounder for next year instead of fifth rounder for this year. So what we have just done with Seattle at pick 16, we've traded pick 32. We have traded pick 95, one of the 2 fifth rounders they have this year, and the third rounder for L'Jarius Sneed. So that is 4 picks for 1. So you're giving up 3 extra draft picks, 3 extra players. But available is Olu Fashanu, who is, to me, after Joe Alt, the guy that I would love for the Chiefs to take. I think he's got superstar left tackle potential. If this was available to the Chiefs, I'm on record, yes, do it. I would do it. I am a trade down guy, but I don't expect Fashanu to be there tomorrow night at pick 16. And by the way, the Seahawks may not be okay with it because they may look at it and go, bleep you, we're taking Fashanu. Are you kidding me? So
some say they also would maybe say bleep yes to that because they want Penix. And that's a little high for Penix.
And a little high for Penix. And
then
maybe
they could use 32 to get above anyone they're scared of.
So now the Seahawks go, well, we can get Penix, and we just got an extra third rounder, and we got a third rounder next year, and we got a fifth rounder this year. And we may still get the guy we want with much better value and getting 3 picks in return. So they said yes here in the simulator. Sterling, do you do that deal? Or do you do it for somebody else? I'll give you the...
No. It would be for Fashanu. But...
Because Amarius Mims, J.C. Latham are also available.
And I like Mims a lot, but
I've talked about Latham. I think Latham's a right tackle. I think Mims is a left tackle, but is going to take a little bit of time.
I think Mims takes more time than Fashanu, obviously. That's just steep, man. Like, I get that's what you have to do to get a player of that caliber. And I get it's the $500 million investment on the blind side for Patrick Mahomes. I don't think I'm doing that.
You're not doing that.
I don't think I'm doing that.
So I'm a yay. Sterling is a nay.
Because I think you can still get a tackle in the first round or even a potential trade back and still get a player who is solid. And again, you know my thoughts on Wanya Morris, which again, I think this probably indicates my comfort level with him growing.
You're a Morris man.
I'm a Morris man, if you will. Yeah.
Dylan? Yay or nay on you're giving up your third rounder this year, your L'Jarius Sneed third rounder, and a fifth rounder to get what is honestly widely considered the second best left tackle in the draft?
What is his arm length? Is it pretty good?
Do you want to look at the arm length? I've got it. Got it.
If it's where the Chiefs like it, I think it's 36 or whatever. Yes,
yeah, it is.
I think so. I think that's a good investment. There's no seconds. So you still got your seconds.
Yeah, you still have your second round pick.
You know, the third you said next year's third?
Next year's L'Jarius Sneed, but you still have your third next year as well.
34-inch arms is what I'm seeing. 34.
Steep. I don't think that's steep, really. I think that's perfect. That's
because
probably where they want.
Without the L'Jarius Sneed pick, you'd be giving up a third rounder and a fifth rounder.
Exactly. For a franchise, hopefully left tackle.
For a guy that I mean, it's my personal opinion, but I think he's got like Pro Bowl, All-Pro potential, does Fashanu.
Kingsley's like what you get with Fashanu if you're waiting at 32. And he's
yeah,
still there.
and you're hoping that he turns into eventually somebody like that.
Yes.
But you're also then getting your third-round pick this year. You still have your third-round pick for next year that you can use to move around in the second round, because what you're doing here is you're also eliminating any chance of moving up from 64. You've now essentially said we are locked in at 64 or we're trading back at 64. But if there's somebody there at like 55, too bad. We're just waiting because we already pushed our chips in and we got Fashanu. That means whatever wide receiver is there at 64, if we're looking wide receiver, then that's where we're going. If somehow some wide receiver is falling in the mid-second, nothing we can do because we've already made our big move on Thursday night.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to for me as well. I think the only way you get sideways roster construction-wise in the Mahomes era is if you trade a lot of draft capital for one specific player, and then let's just say hypothetically, again, since this is all hypothetical, we can talk about how good he might be, but again, we're still talking potential here.
Yeah.
There's always a case that, okay, well, what if he's not that guy? What if he turns into Cam Irving?
Yeah, right, absolutely.
And then you're stuck here going, well, now we can't make up for our miss. Now we're talking about injury concerns or things outside of his control. I don't like giving away 4 for 1 when it's already, we've talked about this multiple times, not a crapshoot, but it's more random than an exact science. That for me makes me very worried when you're doing 4 for 1.
Yeah, but it also gets more random the later you get.
Agreed.
Those are such late picks, especially in the first round.
Third's not.
32.
32 and 2/3, I would still consider more of the, you should hopefully know what you're getting with these guys more so than the fifth for sure, yeah.
It's more the next year's third that makes it really not that expensive, in my opinion.
Sure. And I guess I view, I think it's expensive because I do view like future picks the same as this year, and that would be an issue if teams don't. Like if you're trading with teams and they go, it's next year's third, I don't care about that one. Because I mean, the Chiefs have two fifth rounders this year because they traded a sixth rounder last year. Seems pretty valuable, right? I don't know who they would have gotten in the sixth round, but they got two fifth rounders this year. So as you had just mentioned, Dylan, when you said, well, you're giving up a fifth rounder, you've already got another fifth rounder. So, it makes it a little more palatable. Well, that's because they gave up a sixth rounder last year for a fifth rounder this year. So that becomes more valuable in that year. It's just sort of forward thinking. It's one of the things that the Patriots used to do all the time.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we'll trade this first rounder. We'll trade back and get a third rounder and a first rounder next year. Okay, well, now we go into next year's draft with two first rounders. Okay, one of these first rounders we'll trade back and get an extra second rounder, and then we're going to get a first round. They just kept moving it forward while taking picks once you do it once. Now, it was a sixth rounder to a fifth, so you would have to then, if you're the Chiefs, say, I'll give you 32 for another third rounder this year and a first rounder next year. Now you're going into the 2025 draft with two first rounders. Okay, now you're really in the catbird seat to where you can move around, and you can continue to play it forward if you were to move back with one of those first rounders, right? They had two first rounders 2 years ago, and they decided to move up instead of moving back. And they got it right with Trent McDuffie. They got it right with Trent McDuffie. I'm pulling the trigger on this one. I'm doing it for Fashanu at pick number 16. Let's see how the rest of the draft turns out to see if we could have gotten better value. Latham goes 18. Barton from Duke goes 21st. Mims goes 24. So I'm going to pause the draft there. If Mims was sitting there at 24 with the Dallas Cowboys, would it have been better to trade up to 24 and get Mims as opposed to trading all the way up at 16 to get Fashanu? Because 24 would have cost you next year's third and a sixth rounder.
Instead of the 2/3.
Instead of the two. So you would have your first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Oh, excuse me, you don't have a fourth. So first, yeah, you do. You've got one fourth rounder. No sixth rounder. So you would still have your first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and seventh rounder. You would not have next year's third, but you would have Mims at number 24.
That's more palatable to me.
More palatable to you. But you don't have a guy that day one starter for Shanu at left tackle that you know is happening.
The name I have still yet to hear is Suamataia, which let's see if he would last until 32.
Okay, I'm going to resume the draft. And number 32, Suamataia was there. Tyler Guyton win at number 31. So Suamataia would be there. So you would be standing pat. You would have your second, your third, next year's third, your fourth, 2 fifths, and a seventh, and you would have Kingsley Suamataia. But let's address that in the next draft. Okay, so we went with, you said no, we went yes. So let's go to the next draft. Let's stop it around pick 22. So let's press the draft. Caleb Williams, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Quinion Mitchell, Joe Alt, Latu, Roma Dunze, Dallas Turner, Brock Bowers, Jaden Daniels, Fuaga, Arnold, Murphy, Dijon, Latham, Newton, Fashanu, Fautanu, Mims, A.D. Mitchell. So now we're sitting at number 22. A name that wasn't read there was Brian Thomas. That's of interest, right? So now you're sitting at number 22, and Brian Thomas is available. Now, the Eagles might be looking wide receiver, so maybe they're not willing to trade back. The Cowboys probably looking wide receiver, so maybe you might be able to get Brian Thomas a little bit later. But let's pause the draft here at 22 because A.D. Mitchell just went at 21. So this might be the next run on wide receivers, right? Let's go ahead and pause it, the next run, and let's see if we want to get up there and do that. So let's send an offer. We're going to send pick number 32. I'm going to give them next year's third rounder and this year's fifth rounder. I'm going to offer the trade for pick 22 to the Eagles. And the Eagles have accepted that trade. So we have given up a fifth rounder and next year's third. So this draft this year, you would have essentially given up next year's third and last year's sixth to move up to pick 22 to take Brian Thomas. Is that something you're more willing to do if now you're trading up for wide receiver at number 22? Now, I am a trade back guy, okay? I'm already on record now as a trade back guy that I would trade up and get Fashanu.
Yeah, I was going to say, for a trade back guy, you sure are trading up a lot here.
I haven't agreed to this trade up for Brian Thomas yet. I haven't agreed to this trade up for Brian Thomas, okay? Because the positions that are available, if I'm looking at wide receiver, I've still got Brian Thomas. I've got Ladd McConkey. I know there are people that like Xavier Legette. Xavier Worthy is there. That do I feel comfortable one of those guys might be there later on at pick number 32? Or if I'm looking at tackle, Graham Barton's still there. You mentioned Kingsley Suamataia still there. Tyler Guyton is still there, a guy that people think could be a left tackle. It's just going to be more of a learning curve for Guyton. He would still be there. But Brian Thomas is a guy that people would look at and go, all right, this is a stud. This is a stud that should have been gone in the top 20, maybe top 15, and he's there at 22.
Well,
and A.D. Mitchell just went, which might have been a surprise.
Sure, and that again would be the run on wide receivers, I think, that you're mentioning here. The reason why Brian Thomas is so interesting is because this clearly is not a reach, and he fits the X for the Chiefs very, very well. The Chiefs need an X receiver. Brian Thomas can be that. He's 6'3", 209. Yes. He's a different flavor, but an elite guy. I think he's clear-cut the fourth best wide receiver in this draft. I know that's not really a hot take, but I think it's the right take. I love Xavier Legette. You know this. Had a chance to talk to him the other day, and I asked him.
Bragger.
I'm just trying to get some insight, but I was asking him, I'm like, where do you fit in on an offense? He goes, oh, I'm an X. He goes, I will be your X. That's what I bring to the table. But I think if you draft him at 32, that's a reach. I like Xavier Legette a lot, but he's only had that 1 year production. And he mentioned a lot of that was injury and opportunity, but that does make me nervous. With Brian Thomas, you're getting a higher floor while the ceiling is still the same as a Xavier Legette. I don't know how much I like trading up for a wide receiver in general in the first round, but Brian Thomas at 22 would be the only guy I would even consider doing this for.
Are you going to go yes or no on that one?
I'll go no, but if you go yes, I am 49 yes, 51 no on this.
All right. Dylan? Unless you want to trade it for somebody else. I just feel like at this point, the value with Mims gone, with Fashanu gone, with Fautanu gone, with Fuaga gone, with every other person that has a last name that starts with F, is gone. And A.D. Mitchell has been taken, and that's sort of a surprise. He was the fourth wide receiver taken off the board because of the top three that were going to go early. And then all of a sudden, A.D. Mitchell is gone and Brian Thomas is there. And you're trading with the Eagles, and you're giving up a fifth rounder this year, next year's third that you got for L'Jarius Sneed to go and get Brian Thomas. You still would have your second rounder, your third rounder, your fourth rounder, a fifth, and a seventh. Is it worth it for Brian Thomas?
I think the only thing why I don't want to say it's worth it is because of the history that we've had with drafting receiver, where I feel like we have a better history of drafting offensive linemen. And if they jump up for that, I want to be going for an offensive lineman. So I'm going to say no just because I feel like that's too high. And I think the Chiefs are in a good spot with a lot of NFC teams right in a row here from about 22 to 29 with the Bills sprinkled in there. Those are a lot of trade partners. So I feel like if you can just get up above the Niners, because they're going to be wanting a lineman because their line in the Super Bowl you saw last year, they're trying to shore that up.
Yeah.
And also, like I was saying, Washington has 34 and 40. And they're just going to have a brand-new rookie quarterback they'll be trying to get a tackle for. So I feel like if you just get up to Lions pick at 29, you can take Suamataia, which is what I would want.
Yeah, I think that certainly could be the case.
So,
all right, so I'm going to press resume draft. We're ready? We all said no? We all said
we
no?
never got your – are you saying
I'm saying no. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm saying no as well. I'm tempted. I'm fully on board with Fashanu. I'm tempted with Brian Thomas because I think he probably should be the fourth wide receiver off the board. But with the wide receivers that are still available and with some tackles still available, I don't want to give up that next year's third because I could use that next year's third to move up in the second round and move around there. So I don't want to make my move yet, not knowing what that second round would look like. And I feel like I've got some options here at, pick number 32, even though we're talking about 9 more selections that are going to be taken before we get on the clock.
Well, the thought process is what's better, Brian Thomas by himself or Ladd McConkey, for example, and another player.
But we don't know if Ladd McConkey's going to be there.
No, I get it, but I'm just like hypothetically speaking, a guy who's going to be a wide receiver on the board at that spot. What makes your team better? A single Brian Thomas or again, hypothetically, a Ladd McConkey and a whoever else they would get in the third round.
Let's press play. Let's do it. Let's resume the draft and see who's there at 32. All right? So let's do it. Here we go. not a surprise, Brian Thomas picked 22. So Brian Thomas immediately taken right there. Newton, Verse, Kool-Aid, Powers Johnson, Troy Franklin to the Bills. I think if A.D. Mitchell was there, they may go that route. Chop Robinson, the cornerback from Michigan, and then Nate Wiggins from Clemson. That was one that that Adam Teicher was talking about, that if he were to slide, that might be somebody that he would maybe see the Chiefs moving up a couple of spots for. Now the Chiefs are on the clock. I didn't want to stop it and make any trades. I just wanted to see with this specific scenario with Brian Thomas there at 22, we turned it down. And the Eagles may turn it down if they want Brian Thomas. Because Brian Thomas then went 22nd.
I'm wondering, are they doing it off need? Like, because wouldn't the Eagles be like maybe some other position with A.J. Brown, and they are trying to sign maybe Devonta Smith?
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't know.
One of the things that the Eagles have listed as need is wide receiver.
So
I
think
one of those
secondary
help. I guess.
Yeah, I mean
We saw that secondary.
they've gone
That's a
so
burnt
much.
eagle.
They've gone defense a lot. So certainly secondary could be part of that. But in this particular simulation, they took Brian Thomas when we said no to the trade.
Maybe I'm wrong here, but a name I did not hear you mention was Cooper DeJean, a cornerback from Iowa. And if that's the case, I'm ripping that at 32. No qualms about it.
Let me look to see if I missed that when I was going through there. Let me see. Let me just do.
I get as a cornerback, and we want wide receiver and tackle, but you're not getting better value than Cooper at 32.
Where did he go? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped over him. I'm sorry. He went number 10. So
that was my concern.
No,
there.
that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
You heard my.
I was just going quickly, so we got to number 22, right?
Yeah.
Because we had already pulled off the trade.
Yes.
So with Fashanu, once you do that, then you got to start it over because you can't just go back and go, no, let's see what happened if I didn't trade. So I started it over, and then I skipped all the way to 22 to see where it was with some of those guys that had been gone in the early rounds parts either as well. So Cooper DeJean definitely gone at number 10. All right, so we're going to press play. Here we go. And now we're sitting at pick number 32. And I mentioned the Nate Wiggins. So Ladd McConkey's on the board. Keon Coleman, Roman Wilson, Xavier Legette, Jalen Polk. Those are the wide receivers that are there. Tackles, Guyton's still there. Suamata'ia's still there. So you've got your choice between three guys you kind of like. Now you might trade back if there's I'm going to say that there's no partner here, because it's like, oh, let's trade back. We'll just force the trade through and say we trade back. Okay, great. That would be awesome in that particular scenario. If we're looking at that scenario, specifically, we've got Guyton, who again I think is a right tackle. I'm lower on. Well, no, I'm sorry. That's Lathan. Guyton can play left tackle. So I've got a project in Guyton, a project in Suamataia, and a guy that people love in Ladd McConkey.
By the way, Tyler Guyton used to be a tight end, but he's 6'8", 322. Imagine trying to tackle that.
Well, it was Kelvin Benjamin ate himself to a tackle is what he did. Kelvin Benjamin ate himself to a tight end.
Popeyes biscuit.
That's right.
Booger McFarland said.
Looking for a biscuit away from playing tight end, and he eventually did that. So in this scenario, who are you taking, Sterling?
Well, you know, my Ladd McConkey, man, it's hard because you almost want to take one of the tackles and then trade up for a wide receiver use your second round and move up in the second. Because if you move it to round 45, I think you can get another solid wide receiver, whether that's Xavier Legette, who might fall around that range. Ladd will be gone. Wow. I'll go Guyton. Because Guyton fell in this instance.
You went Guyton there?
I think that means Guyton fell.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going against.
Certainly would feel that Guyton fell.
Yeah, I'll go Guyton just based on this one.
You know my pick.
Kingsley?
Yep.
You're going Kingsley on that one?
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and write down St. John would take McConkey. and
I would love Ladd McConkey at 32. Even this scenario, I wouldn't be mad by any means.
Right. And that's where I think so we did not trade up for Brian Thomas at 22. And by not trading up for Brian Thomas at 22, we're sitting there at 32 with your third rounder this year, next year's third rounder, with your everything you got. We haven't traded anything. with your same picks.
And you still get a player that you think is going to be valuable for this current iteration of the Chiefs. You're sitting here and you're not bummed saying, oh my gosh, all these guys have gone. And now maybe it's because we've looked very closely at guys who are going to go around 25 to 40, right? We've taken sorry, I'm not taking a deep dive at Rome Odunze because he's not going to be there, or Marvin Harrison Jr. So maybe because we've taken a deep dive, I've talked myself into a good amount of these guys. But you mentioned a lot of guys. I'm sitting here going, yeah, Guyton, yeah. Suamataia, yeah. Ladd McConkey, yeah. Any of those three dudes I'm happy with. I'm not going to sit here and be upset by those.
Yeah.
And that's why I think 32, if you stay put, there's going to be a guy that is going to be good for this Chiefs team. Again, trading back as much as we want that, I don't think is a realistic possibility. I'm in the same camp as you. But at 32, there is going to be a guy there, which is why, again, I'm not a huge fan of trading up for one dude. Give me 32 in the extra players.
I'm going Kingsley on this one. And the reason I'm passing up on Ladd McConkey, not that I want to, but the reason I'm passing up on Ladd is if I'm sitting there at 32 and I haven't used any of the bullets in the chamber, it does give me the flexibility at pick 64 to then maneuver, which would cost less to move up in the second round for somebody that might slide as a wide receiver, that you say, okay, now I'm getting at least so the choice would be, do I get a lower level tackle at 64 that's going to be a lot lower than, because Guyton and Kingsley are going to be gone, right? So now you're taking more of a project, and maybe Paul will be there in the second round, and you feel good about that, to get maybe a better wide receiver. Or do I get one of those tackles that Brett Veach talked about that after 35 or 40, it's pretty much dried up? Do I get one of those guys? Whereas he said, there's another pocket of wide receivers after 50. But he did say till 50. So do I have enough at 64 to move up 14, 15 spots using another couple of picks to go and get one of those wide receivers they grade in the top 50? Now you've gotten two players that are in the top 50 of what their board says. And I think that's why I go Kingsley, because I think there's a better chance of moving up and getting one of the wide receivers that might be there rather than the tackles.
And that's why I went Guyton as well. I'm in the same boat as you.
Yep. I want to do one more, and then we'll take a break. So one more. So we stopped at 22. Now I want to stop with the Cardinals at 27, which feels like a team that wants to trade back. That's some of the rumors and everything. Cardinals want to collect picks. So at 27, they'd be willing to trade back. There might be some teams in the second round willing to trade up with the Cardinals, especially if they want a wide receiver, because the Bills are sitting there at 28 and everybody knows. They've got a big sign that says wide receiver. Okay? So people know the Bills are sitting there at 28. They may not be there at 28 because everybody knows they want a wide receiver, so they may move up as well because teams might be looking at. If there are wide receivers available, the Cardinals are in a sweet spot for teams wanting to get to 27. Hell, the Bills may trade with them.
Because they'll already have Marvin Harrison or Neighbors or someone in that top 10.
Okay, let's press play, and we're going to pause it at 27. Cardinals took Neighbors, so there you go. We're going through. All the tackles are gone. Mims. Green Bay at 25 went Troy Franklin. That's interesting. Brian Thomas went 22 to the Eagles again.
Man, it's getting interesting now with Brian Thomas.
Nate Wiggins went 26 to Tampa. So we've paused it. We're on the clock with the Cardinals. That means A.D. Mitchell is there at 27. And you'd be trading ahead of the Buffalo Bills.
You'd be recreating the McDuffie video. You could just repost that one.
Let's see what it would take. Let's offer next year's third. But I don't want to just offer next year's third. I want to pick back.
Give him a jugs machine as well.
Yeah.
Coke machine.
Yes.
Call of Duty. Just give him the new Call of Duty. Kyler Murray will say yes.
So, I'm going to take pick 27, and I'm going to offer next year's third. And pick 32 this year. But I want something back for that.
Next year's fifth.
I'm going with pick 90 this year from Arizona. I'm going to try that one. So we give up next year's third, pick 32, and next year's third for 27. And we get pick 90 back as well this year. that the Cardinals got from the Houston Texans. I don't know if it's going to be accepted, but we'll find out. Offering trade. They accepted it. Okay. So now we've got a third rounder back. We've given up next year's third rounder and number 32 for a fourth rounder, I should say. Well, no, we got, yeah, that's what we've given up. Okay, it wasn't pick 90. Regardless, so we got a fourth rounder. Here's the trade. We got a fourth rounder back, and we gave up next year's third to move up from 32 to 27. Would we do that for A.D. Mitchell? Tackles on the board would be Guyton, Kingsley, same guys. So it's really you'd be trading up ahead of Buffalo to get A.D. Mitchell. But those other wide receivers are on the clock, the Ladd McConkey. You give up next year's third, but you get a fourth back this year. So you would now have your first rounder at 27, your second rounder, your third rounder, 2 fourths, 2 fifths, and a seventh to move up and get A.D. Mitchell ahead of the Buffalo Bills who were taking wide receiver. You have turned a third rounder next year into a fourth rounder this year while moving up 5 spots. According to this simulator, maybe the Cardinals will say, no, we don't want to do that. We're not going to move back and just take a third rounder next year. We want something more this year. That's just how this one worked, and it said it was 50-50. So had a 50-50 shot of being accepted. The Cardinals in this particular scenario accepted it. Would you do that for A.D. Mitchell? With also screwing the Bills? Because that's a little bit of a sweetener, right?
Part of me just wants to do that because it's just hilarious, right? But you really got to believe in A.D. Mitchell then, because if you believe that Ladd McConkey's the guy, do you believe in Xavier Leggette's the guy? Do you believe that you want one of the tackles instead? I don't know which way Veach is leaning because A.D. Mitchell seems to be somewhat polarizing. Not quite Xavier-worthy polarizing, where people either think he's going to be Tank Dell, Devontae Smith, or he's going to be an utter bust. But I'll be honest, I've not watched enough of A.D. Mitchell's tape to give you a very strong opinion one way or the other.
I'm going yes. I'm taking it, and part of it is I've turned next year's third into this year's fourth, which is sort of the exact opposite of what they did last year with the last year's sixth to get the fifth rounder from the Cowboys for this year. But now this year in this year's draft, I have a first, a second, a third, and 2 fourths, 2 fifths, and a seventh. So I've gained a pick this year. I've moved up to get a receiver that I really like, and I'm ahead of the Bills, taking that receiver. And I've gained an extra pick this year.
Do you know what Matt Miller's comp is for A.D. Mitchell?
Rashee Rice.
Dylan, you want to take a guess?
I'm thinking T. Higgins.
George Pickens. So the Chiefs have a chance to recreate George
There you
Pickens.
go. Not going to make that mistake again.
Yeah.
I'm going yes, Sterling.
Fine, you've swayed
no,
me.
I don't want to sway you.
Jason,
I'm not trying to sway you one way or another. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just simply giving my opinion.
It all depends if the Chiefs believe A.D. Mitchell is better than Ladd McConkey, if he's better
Agreed.
than a tackle.
You've got to have your conviction on that.
Because, and I don't have a strong conviction. I'll say yes because I understand that you get another fourth this year for the third next year, which is kind of a... It all depends on what draft you think is better. If you think this draft is better than next year's, you make it. If you think next year's is better, I think you say no.
Yeah, I think this. What's the difference between this one and Brian Thomas? We're getting a pick this year, basically.
So Brian Thomas, you gave up next year's third and this year's fifth.
Okay. Yeah, I'm doing this for sure.
So you would, for A.D. Mitchell, you'd give up next year's third, but get back this year's fourth.
Yeah, that seems to check out.
I like that
better.
sweetener too. I'm doing that as well. All right, let's take a timeout. That went. I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
Just the different scenarios. We'll take a timeout. I want to talk about the choices that we ended up making and what we were choosing between there. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, so here's what we ended up with. Dylan and I, our first choice, we ended up drafting Fashanu at number 16. Sterling waited and did not make a trade until pick 27. And at pick 27, you moved up and got A.D. Mitchell ahead of Buffalo Bills. You gave up pick 32, next year's third rounder, but you got a fourth rounder back, pick 104 from the Cardinals. We all were in agreement with that, too. We would have done the same thing, but we had already drafted Fashanu, so we were out. Now, if we didn't draft Fashanu, on the board was Brian Thomas Jr., and we all said no at pick 22.
Yeah.
It would have taken next year's third, this year's fifth, and pick number 32. There were a number of wide receivers still available, a number of tackles still available, and in fact, when the rest of the draft took place, sitting at 32, we had a choice between Guyton, Kingsley Suamataia, and Ladd McConkey. Great spot to be in for the Chiefs, I believe. You went Guyton, I went Kingsley, Dylan went Kingsley. So in these two drafts, Dylan and I went Fashanu and Kingsley. You went, A.D. Mitchell to trade up for, or Guyton at pick number 32.
A lot of groupthink from you two.
I know.
Just throwing that
right?
out there. Yeah.
And then after the Brian Thomas, once we said no to that one, at pick 27, Dylan and all three of us agreed that we would trade up at 27 to get A.D. Mitchell, like you also agreed with. Groupthink from you.
No. I was the first. I was
it.
the first one.
Yeah, you were.
Who got talked into it?
Yes. So for Fashanu, if you're looking at moving up to pick 16, where he was available in this particular draft where we pressed pause at pick 16, I went 16 because the Colts are 15th. And, 16, where you're talking about the Seahawks maybe wanting to move back, collect more picks, the position they're in right now. It would take this year's third, next year's L'Jarius Sneed third, and a fifth rounder to move up to 16 to get Fashanu. I do it because I believe Fashanu is a Pro Bowl left tackle. And I think he's a second contract guy, and you put him at left tackle, you call it a day. And then you figure out the rest of your draft, and you feel like for the next 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, you've got the guy to protect Patrick Mahomes' blind side, and let's hope Jawan Taylor over the next 3 years gets better.
And yeah, who I don't know if it was you or someone was saying that nobody cares about the picks if the guy was a stud.
If the guy's right, if it's right, yeah.
Because nobody remembers we remember because we like to laugh in the face of Bills fans because it was Tre'Davious White. Nobody really cares about the other picks that Mahomes ended up being. And
also, it is hypocritical of me because I had talked about with Adam Teicher yesterday and said who possibly is available there, in the middle of the teens to go and get when you've got Patrick Mahomes. And Adam and I talked, and I'm like, I just don't see that as a value there. Now, part of it is me thinking Fashanu would not be there at pick number 16. And then when you do the math of you lose a fifth and a third rounder this year, and you give up next year's third rounder, but you get that guy. I'm way more tempted to do that. I do make that particular trade for him. But as you've said, Sterling, you better be right. Because now you've lost 3 players and your first rounder that you would have taken at 32 for a guy you missed on. At 32, you may not have missed on that guy. You may have taken somebody else that you hit on.
Or even if you do miss on the 32,
you still got 3 other.
You still have more opportunity where Brett Veach has shown pretty good job of
when he's got the collection.
Hitting.
Yeah, when he's got a volume of picks, he's pretty good at selecting those. I think my 2 favorite scenarios there. Oddly enough, my favorite scenario is Fashanu. Just because I think if you trade up, it's got to be for a left tackle. That was my favorite scenario. And I think my second favorite, even though it'd be sticking it to the Bills at 27 to get up and get A.D. Mitchell, I think my second favorite is just staying there, passing up on Brian Thomas at 22, passing up at A.D. Mitchell at 27, and sitting there at 32 and taking either, and we know how the board fell, taking either Kingsley for me, Ladd McConkey, or Guyton, and then you still have the ammo if you want to move up in the second round and get somebody that may have fallen there. There was a little bit of a twinge of sticking it to the Bills to go up and get A.D. Mitchell and trading right ahead of the Bills. But I think it's either so in this exercise, what I wanted to figure out in this exercise was what I landed on was at 16 if Fashanu's there, that's something I'd be willing to do. Outside of that, I'm sitting back and waiting till 32.
Yeah, 32 is my favorite because with those guys there, you take the tackle, and then as you're mentioning, you trade up in the second round for your wide receiver because there is that pocket right there. I think we're all in agreement. Just I couldn't get the didn't have the stones
get down
to
with
move
Rashad.
to 16.
I get it. Yeah, that's it's rich. You know, you're giving something up. You know that you are.
I'm a frugal man.
Yeah,
Jason.
you're pushing. Not with your conversation with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, he was willing to give you like what, $5 million, $6 million. You were like, no, thank you. I don't settle for anything under 10. I mean, it's 8. I need 3 commas before I really start to talk with somebody. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, wrap up this hour, and then Mick Schaefer will join us in the 1 o'clock hour. More Zone next. Get into some other things, too, with Mick Schaefer. We also had the breaking news in the NFL of Amon-Ra St. Brown and the very local connection to almost that particular contract with Sterling Holmes, who was very close to being Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport.
I did find out they might be throwing some German audibles in there. See? And whose idea was that?
You have made an impact on the NFL just in your conversations with some of these guys in Detroit. There you go. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer coming up next.
free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels, Mick Schaefer hanging out with us on this, what is a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday edition of the show. He is presented by Empower Payments, boosting your business and charity with every transaction. Learn more at empowerpayments.com. Mick.
Hey.
You look so good today. You look relaxed. You look like you got you're out enjoying the day.
I've enjoyed the day.
My
the
goodness.
day's been enjoyed. This day's so nice. It's driving a friend to the airport. That's how nice this day is.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know if maybe you played a little golf or something.
I did. Oh, I hit the range. Yeah,
the range.
for about
Hey,
30 minutes.
What'd you shoot today? I was going to ask.
Yeah,
I did.
You're wearing a polo, some 7-inch inseam shorts, so I assume it's a pretty good guess.
Yeah.
I was
How do you
not
know how many
golfing in
inches that
this.
is?
These aren't golf shorts.
You looked
so I'm
right
just- I
at
don't want to
his.
sweat in
You looked right
these.
at his waist and said, "That's 7 inches."
Yeah,
It was a very
he
quick
did.
observation.
Really, really quick.
I know what 7.
He also have the backward hat
almost
and
fell for it.
the sunglasses on. You look comfortable today.
Thank
you look
you
like
so
you're just
much.
out enjoying the day. You
I
know?
am. It's
That's
a
awesome.
gorgeous day. The day's so nice. It's helping a friend move. That's how nice it is.
Have you talked to somebody today that made $77 million in the day?
No, unlike this guy right here, huh?
Did you hear that story?
Journalism 101, the first thing you ask is, hey, are you about to sign a new contract?
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody, you do that. I mean, come on, man.
Hey, Mick,
Unbelievable.
are you about to sign a new contract?
No, not even close.
There you go. So now we're learning.
Now we're good. Now we're good.
Dylan, you about to sign a new contract?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Yeah, that would be a negative Ghost Rider pattern as well for
Amon
me as
Ra
well.
is my middle name, though.
No
So,
kidding.
yeah.
Mick Amon-Ra, St. Brown,
Hey,
Schaefer.
You score some big interviews. Well done there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you skirt around the PR teams for all these clubs?
No, it's the PR teams that hooks them up.
They reach out
I
to
feel
me
like the
because
PR teams they like the out of market guys a lot more than the in market guys.
weird.
That's
It's weird
kinda
how that works.
Weird.
A lot of it like, oh, hey, let's give some extra access to people that are hardly ever here. This guy never comes around and covers the team, but we're going to let him just hang out. In fact, he's going to shower with Andy Reid just because we want to give him extra access. This is really cool. Oh, you are there every single day? Oh, no. You stand over there.
Well,
Go ahead,
They
Sterling.
didn't know I'm not going to ask about the contract. That's why.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So if
that's the
you're
only
every
reason.
single day, you would have asked around about the contract. But were you told not to ask about the contract, or that was just you being a derelict of duty?
I have been not in this particular interview. I was
Okay,
not,
so you
but-
just dropped the
Okay,
ball.
yeah. Don't let me have any
Just
any
totally
background
dropped
yet.
the ball
all my
on
fault.
Amon-Ra St. Brown and breaking the news that he was 8 minutes late because he was signing his contract, and then you interviewed him, and then they break the news nationally that he's the highest paid wide receiver in the history of the NFL. But you do get to know that you were either the first person he talked to before signing that contract, or after signing the contract, or the last person he talked to before signing the contract. You're one or the other. So that probably helps you sleep at night, right?
You know, I wasn't getting money from him either way, so I don't think it really
point.
matters that much.
It's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah.
I like the St. Brown family, right? Because his brother Equiminius, right,
yes.
in L.A.
Where is he now?
he?
He was
he
with
just
the
signed, I
Packers,
thought,
and then he
with
was
the
like-
Saints,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken.
He's with the
Yeah, I think you're right. The Saints,
Jaguars,
and then
Titans, Pats.
and then his dad was Mr. Universe.
Yeah, his dad, this bodybuilder, and then like there's stories of them like age 8, like doing powerlifting, like like pictures of him as a 10-year-old just flexing. It's like, good God,
torn
that
to
guy's
shreds.
got a bicep bigger than a senior in high school, and he's 10 years old, man. What the hell?
I asked him about his dad and what was it like with just some tough regiments growing up. He goes, I just thought it was normal. Like
Yes,
he's
me.
like, this is all I knew. I
Same.
didn't find out it was different until
See. Same.
Get older.
I thought always laying around on the couch and watching TV was just normal.
That was actually.
It's
as
what
it turns out.
everybody
That's
does.
what-
I just thought that was totally normal. My upbringing. Turns out it is. It is totally normal. So I lived a normal life, I guess. That's fun. But yeah, it is amazing, like the different ways people are brought up. Like it's just you having that regimented life, that sort of strict. You are disciplined
That's all you know.
in what you do during the day, and that's just simply what life is. It's what you know. And therefore, oddly enough, they both make it to the NFL. Now, certainly there can be some burnout along the way to where all you want to do is not have that regimented lifestyle. You get a little bit of freedom and whoop, I'm out.
That's why you don't
I'm
have
doing-
couches or
Yeah.
video games in the house.
Exactly. No couches, no video, or beds, really.
Right.
I mean, you get a bed, now they sleep in later.
it's a cot. They get cots.
Not even that. You got to sleep standing up. So that when your eyes open up, you're like, all right, well, I guess what am I going to do? Just stand here?
After 6 hours, the bed then turns over. It throws you out. You got to be out by then.
And it folds up, so you can't. It's like the Jetsons. It folds up, it goes away.
Murphy bed.
It's a Murphy bed. Yeah, it's great. It's a Murphy shower.
If you watch cartoons back in the day, you were like, I'm either going to die of quicksand or a Murphy bed just slamming me into the drywall there.
You are so right about that. That is odd.
Everybody thought quicksand was just this.
Everything was
could be anywhere.
Right around the corner, quicksand, and you were done for. There was no getting out of it.
No.
It was a slower / quicker death, because slow enough to where you're knowing that you're going to die, but quick enough to where nobody can save you.
Yeah,
and it was always right around the corner. Why was quicksand involved in so many different cartoons and movies back in the day? I don't see it anymore. Do they not make quicksand anymore?
I thought you'd walk around Town Center and you had to just really be careful. Town Center was
you walked around your country club and you're like, oh, the sand trap. It might.
The sand trap was actually. That's why I was told don't hit into the bunker.
That's
because
right. You as an 8-year-old, you weren't flexing. You were staying away from the bunker.
Yeah. Well, I mean, help the
golf
game.
I was laying around on the couch watching people play golf.
I've never seen quicksand. I've never seen an anvil, I don't think, either. Those were popular in cartoons as well.
Never fallen on your head?
What about a coyote running around? Have you seen many coyotes?
I've seen coyotes running around, but not at like chasing a roadrunner.
You know what I've never seen?
I've never seen a roadrunner.
Well, that's one.
I don't think I have either.
Yeah, I've never seen somebody run off of like a building or something, and then there's like a pause before they fall. I've never seen that. The run, they're just out there in open air. And then they look around, and then they go straight down. Like, I've never seen the pause like that.
Seen them like fall in a phone booth all the way, and at the very end they just step out.
Yeah, that's.
And the phone booth smashes to smithereens, and they just step out.
I've yet to see that, but this was my life growing up. I really thought those were things that could happen.
Similar but different. Do you think if an elevator was going down, just the phone booth conversation, if an elevator's going down, if you jump right before
I've always thought about that, by the way.
You're supposed to lie down, by the way.
You're supposed to lie down. Is that the real?
Spreads out the impact across your body as opposed to just around your
So I'll break like my entire, all my bones instead of just a couple
maybe
bones.
That, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so now your entire body is broken instead of just your legs from the knee down.
Yeah.
I've always thought about that. What if I jump right before I...
You just got to know when.
With the inertia, you just keep jumping, just see what happens.
I mean, hopefully the numbers would be 3, 2, 1, jump! I just would keep jumping over and over. I'm getting tired. I don't know. Well, there were 170 floors.
I don't know if you can rely on the numbers when the cable's cut and that elevator's falling to the ground.
It's not accurate.
No.
I was going to jump and it said 4. It said 4. Really? The elevator that broke and was careening to your death that didn't give you the correct number?
Part of me wonders, is the inertia of the jump coupled with the you're going down so fast? Are you just about to like crush your dome against the ceiling? That's my other concern.
Yeah, I've always thought about that with plane crashes too.
I did
what
too.
What if I just
jumped out?
Just jumped right as it was getting ready to hit the ground. Yeah, just jump up because I know with all the force of it going down, I could totally just jump up.
Straight up. Yeah.
Jump straight up.
Do you think you could? How would you get out of a car underwater? Would you roll your window down? Would you?
You have to wait until I think they say wait till you're at the bottom, right? And then
what if it's deep? Like
I
lake.
Know.
I feel
like
then why was I driving there?
Fully submersed, I guess.
Yeah, where we're driving in the middle of the ocean.
We're talking about quicksand here.
No, I think it's actually you wait till you're under. Or well, don't wait if you can get out above. Hold on, I know I can get out right now.
Our windows are open. Our doors are open. I'm going to need you to close the doors, roll the windows up. I've been told to wait till we hit the bottom.
I think they say though, once you roll your window down, you're going to need to let all the water get in before you.
Yeah, because then I mean you'd be fighting the current there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and risk it and hope that I'm never in that situation rather than studying how I would be able to get out of that situation. Right. It's probably not smart. There are plenty of people, like people on Survivor, they've learned how to live off the land and survive. That's why it's called that for a long time in many different situations. And so they're probably aware they may live longer. Also, they put themselves in some situations like that to have to know how to survive those things.
If you're a boxer, you kind of seek out fights.
Yeah, it's like, what am I going to do if my right orbital bone gets fractured by a punch? I'm probably not going to try to fight somebody, first of all, and I'm probably not going to have to waste time looking at that because I'm not a boxer, and so I won't do that. I'll try to talk my way out of it. I will slay you with my words.
You've been practicing talking for a long time, buddy.
Slay you with my words, buddy. Bring it on over here. You are... All right, well, apparently you're fighting. You didn't even let me talk to you. I couldn't even talk my way out of this, man. But sometimes there's just no talking. Sometimes your mouth does write a check that your body is not prepared to. Hey, Jason, this is your arms and your legs and your brain. We haven't been practicing for this. Just so you know, we aren't coordinated enough. But I'm glad the mouth went ahead and thought we were. Mouth's turning around like, whoa, you guys haven't been training? You should have told me that. Why didn't anybody tell me that you guys haven't been training? I would have stopped a while ago. I thought you guys were totally ready for this fight.
So anyway, good conversation with Amon-Ra.
Great job with Amon-Ra St.
How long
Brown.
did you go?
About 10 minutes.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Have you played it yet?
No.
Is it embargo?
No. Jared Goff's, I think, comes off today. So I'm going to couple those. We're doing a podcast
Comes golf
here.
today.
Why are they embargoing them?
You have to ask him.
Just some of the NFL draft stuff. Just some of that
Till
stuff.
after the draft?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
So the questions about who does he think the Lions will draft, you definitely want to wait till after the draft to make sure.
I made sure to not ask those
okay.
questions.
So it's really just like you can't play this until the draft is over?
So you interviewed
there's
a
a
lot
certain
of
day-
Lions then? Or
Just those two,
Okay.
actually. It was just a random one. Jared Goff was presented by Jared at the Galleria of Jewelry.
Oh,
and
you went
that's
to
why
Jared?
He went to Jared, apparently, for his
Well,
offensive
you did too
lineman.
for an interview.
I guess I went to Jared.
Who was Amon-Ra presented by?
USAA, the military.
Oh.
And he was actually doing an event tomorrow with the military.
Okay.
It's a cool little sit down he's doing with all the USAA members and a lot
That's
of
cool.
military in Detroit. And he's a huge fan of USAA and the military in general because of the regimental schedule.
Yes.
he's
Sure,
like
yeah.
he's like I feel like I have a
Very militaristic background.
yeah. He's like even though they weren't the military, he has that going.
Yeah, he probably would have known what military school was. He
Would've
probably
been
would have been
easy
able
for
to
him.
an easier transition to military school rather than somebody who didn't grow up in a family like that. And like, you know what? I'm gonna give this old military school a try. I'm gonna give this old boot camp thing. Let me see what this is about. I don't know.
tired of this life. I'm going to the military.
Yeah, this laying around on the couch and watching TV seems like it's boring. I'm gonna go and do the extreme opposite of that immediately and shock the system. Yeah, some people do it, and good for them. That's awesome. I appreciate them doing that. You know, I've been
Again,
sitting
another
over
thing that
here.
you're not going to do.
I just,
It's quicksand over there, bud. You don't
yeah,
want to go to
I
war.
know, I know. I have such a high appreciation for those that do that, that have that calling, and it's great and it's awesome. And those with the USAA. Because I sort of know my general disposition and sensibilities, and don't think I would have made it. I don't know. I've always thought about, like, what if I would have given it a try? Could I last through boot camp? Yeah, I don't know. And I figure if I was never really willing to actually
You
give it a
could've,
try,
yeah.
I probably couldn't have. I don't know.
No, you could have.
You think so?
I've known plenty of guys.
You're like, I know plenty of weak
that
guys.
have gone through boot camp. Yeah, no, and
Todd's going through
a lot
boot
of
camp.
them that played sports were like, this is we kind of prepared, like football practice, that kind of stuff prepares you for it.
It's the
There's a
long
lot of
distance
people
running that I don't want to do.
Yeah, especially in, like boots and carrying a backpack and stuff.
Yeah, that seems like it's extreme, you know. But that's also
Navy
train-
SEALs, though, we would all die.
I'd
There's
be
no chance. No chance.
the bell like
I'd
the first
last
day.
maybe 10 minutes.
The bell, ringing the bell, and it's like, all right, see you guys.
Yeah.
See you guys later. I'm gonna go get a milkshake. But keep kicking ass, everybody. Good luck to you. Okay, I'll be
Jason, we haven't
watching.
even started. I know, but we had breakfast and I didn't like it,
Yeah.
so I can tell what directions this is going to
The
go.
MRE
Breakfast,
was
you had to
not
wait
good.
40 minutes. And they only went at 30, and I thought it was 40. And
Yeah, the MRE wasn't up to my standards. So it was a little powdery. So ding 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 ding. You guys have some fun over there. Okay, bye bye. Anyway, Amon-Ra St. Brown. That conversation. What a great one you had. That's awesome. Good for you, man. Mick, last night the Royals find a way to get a win when Vlad Guerrero finds a way to drop a baseball.
He didn't drop it. He didn't drop that. He whiffed on it, right? There's no dropping.
I think did it touch his glove?
I didn't even look like it touched his
no.
glove.
Either way, the door was opened, and the Royals found a way to walk
Whoever
through.
was running Chiron on the Royals broadcast actually turned the inning over. It said into the fifth.
Well,
And on the replay, they had to take it out and reset. I know how that machine
Yeah.
works. And that's how bad. I mean, it was such a routine play. The hardest part of that play, obviously, was cutting the baseball off by the third baseman.
yeah.
And making the throw going, but it was a perfect throw. Cut it off, and Isbell can run, but it's not like it's Bobby Witt Jr., so he didn't hurry it or anything. And he was going to be out by 4 steps.
Yeah.
And
Like you see the play that.
Frazier was Cadillacing around third.
No, it was
and-
Massey.
Oh, it was Massey, yeah.
Massey stopped at
Cadillacing
third,
around
like,
third,
oh,
yeah.
I'm going to hand you my help. What's that? Oh, I was reading the Chiron. It said into the fifth inning.
Turned it over.
Sorry, and then he ends up scoring. But like you see Vlad that misses that. And then Vinny's doing the splits over here, like he's training to be a Rockette, and he's scooping it and getting
Well,
the
it's
out.
a tougher
That was
throw for him. I mean, yeah. For Vinny.
it was a tougher throw than
a little bit.
than
Yeah.
Vlad Jr. had.
Yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, interesting there.
Was
Yeah.
it not the throw to Vinny?
Oh yeah, it was a
Yeah,
much
okay,
tougher
yeah.
throw. Yeah, I mean much tougher throw. I was surprised at everybody's reaction to Vinny doing the splits last night because he's done the splits like 30 times, 40, like almost every time he's stretching forward, like he ends up in the splits,
Yeah.
which is just amazing to see a man of
kept
that
track of that, I
size.
guess.
Yeah, I keep track. I've got a tab. It's a whiteboard, days without doing the splits, and he raced it last night to 0.
Weird, you had a number of times Bobby Witt Jr. jumps over Nick Lofton, right? Or was it vice versa? Was it Lofton go over?
It's at 13 now. Days since Bobby Witt Jr. jumped over Nick Lofton. He's down in the minor leagues, so
He is. It's going to be tough now. It's going to be a hell of a jump.
Yeah, I wish I wouldn't have started that because I feel like every day I have to keep if I would have just did a tally of how many times, then that one would have stayed there. But I did the days since, and that's just dumb. But I did erase the days since Vinny Pasquantino has done the splits while digging out a ball to 0 last night. So he does it often, man. That's one of the more impressive things is his flexibility as a first baseman, his size. And also, I know that, the defensive numbers, are they better this year for Vinny than they've been in the past?
Oh,
or is
they
that
are.
exactly
Oh,
what you're looking up?
They're insane.
Yeah. And
Like a week ago, he already had like 3 defensive runs saved.
And I knew it was better than what it had been. This is where some ignorance comes in on my part of the advanced analytics. And so I don't want to, sound like the noob or anything, but like I know the range and all of that stuff, but is there a metric to study, digging the ball out, the range in which you're catching the ball in throws over there? Because
I would think there would be.
Vinny, I don't know the last time I saw him not short hop, not dig out a short hop. Like honestly, it happened so rarely that we know the 2 times Nick Lofton didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like we remember the 2 because like Hosmer always did that. That was one of the things with Prado. He was always
the
going to
short
do
hops
that.
a lot of guys can handle. Obviously, the long hops, guys.
Yeah.
It's that in between, right?
The in-between
It's
is tough.
the in between is and Hosmer was amazing
Yeah.
at it,
And
and I don't think he did it the right way. I mean, he would just swipe the glove. I mean,
Wasn't
that's
dragging
not
it.
how. No,
Was not dragging it across the dirt.
he just
to
had
them?
this uncanny hand-eye, and he just basically knew at what level this in between hop was gonna arrive at me, and would just snag it.
was
I've
awesome.
never seen anybody better than Hosmer doing it.
But I also haven't seen. Sorry, Sterling. If you, I don't remember one where Vinny just didn't dig it.
I'm looking right now. I don't see a specific stat just for digging, but just overall, last year defensive run saves -2, -3, depending on which one you're looking at. This year already, as you mentioned, Mick, actually 4 by 3 different metrics, 3 different companies that have been trying to analyze defense. Vinny's
It's like his credit score.
Well,
he's
right.
like
3 different companies, and you add it together and
98th
average it.
percentile for a first baseman. 98th. I mean, he went from bad
Yeah,
to again smaller sample size, but
one of the best.
one of the best.
Yes.
Yes,
What is he? 6'4"?
6'4", 245. Yeah.
And long arms, long legs to where you create short hops, right? You can turn those medium hops for a lot of guys that are, 5'10", 6 foot. You can turn those into short hops that are much more
That's a good
easy,
point.
much easier to pick.
And how many times has his stretch, because he's really good at stretching all the way out to get a throw, not even on the short hop or digging it out, just the stretch out, has saved an out. Michael Wacha last night. Wacha sort of took his time, which is fine, took his time, and then threw a bullet over to Vinny. But Vinny stretching way out towards Wacha, it was by a couple of inches where the foot was about to hit the bag?
Over the bag when it entered the glove.
If he's not stretched out that far, that's an infield single. And who knows what. I have been overly impressed with what I've seen from Vinny Pasquantino at first base. And that was supposed to be to where his bat was going to make up for his inability, his inefficiency at first base. And if he's anywhere near and I'm not expecting him to be in the 98th percentile of runs saved as a first baseman, okay? But if he's anywhere near that, and the way that he's swinging the bat, I mean, you've got one of the best in the game right now at first
Ended
base.
his hitting streak last night, but he had a couple balls hard. That could have easily extended it last night with the way he was swinging. So no, just continues to be one of my favorite players on that team. And good for the Royals. That cost them a run. They still had to get another runner on, and then hit a 2-out double to bring in 2 runs. And so they got that done. It wasn't like just that one colossal mistake gave them 3 runs. No, it gave them life. It extended the inning, but it made it 2-1 at that point.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that's a great point. Is the door was open and the Royals took advantage. And it was Garcia who'd been struggling. And he sees one fall in. He had an awesome plate appearance with, 9 pitches, 10 pitches, whatever it was earlier. And then he goes and has that one fine grass. And then Bobby Witt is so pissed at that baseball.
Ambushed it.
Just that baseball said something about Bobby Witt's family. And he wasn't having it. And so he hit 100 miles an hour.
Appreciate the changeup right in the middle.
100 miles an hour down the line, which great placement. Because if you're going to hit it 100 miles an hour, then don't hit it right at somebody. That would be stupid hitting.
Unless, they position a guy on the line.
then just,
which I don't think you can. I believe that's called a fielder's balk. I've seen that called before. If you put, if you're other than the catcher, if you have even a foot in foul territory.
Interesting. Well, they're just
more you know.
Their feet are just lined up on the line, so just one foot in front of the other, as close as they can get, sort of like they're surfing the line. Yeah. By the way, have you talked to Penei Sewell today?
I have not talked to Sewell today.
Okay, so Penei Sewell just signed a contract to be the highest paid offensive tackle in NFL history.
Wow.
I know Jared Goff's pretty close to signing a contract too, so that would be.
So Penei Sewell now becomes the highest paid offensive tackle in NFL history, almost $90 million guaranteed for Penei Sewell. They just gave $77 million guaranteed to Amon-Ra St. Brown.
All this Lions news ahead of the draft.
Yeah. Well,
I wonder if it's pre-planned there.
Was that a requirement? Were you supposed to sign big contracts the day before you host the draft? Because the Chiefs missed that memo.
I don't think the Chiefs did. They have anybody last year?
They didn't get that memo last year. Not sure what happened on that, but yeah. So there you go. But Penei Sewell, $112 million deal, but almost 90 of that is guaranteed. It's a pretty high number. Wow. And Amon-Ra St. Brown.
So the guaranteed money's the most?
Yeah.
Because it's been higher than 112, right? Because Trent Williams was he 130 or something like that?
Just reading the bottom line when it says the highest paid offensive tackle. Okay, I'm just trusting that they're correct on that. But Amon-Ra St. Brown is the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. So he signed a contract, 4 years, $120. So that's $30 million per year, which ties Tyreek Hill. But what makes him the highest is that the guaranteed dollars is $2 million more than Cooper Kupp's $75 million, which is the most ever. So he has the most ever guaranteed dollars and tied for the most annual average value.
Where does he rank as far as receivers?
Number one in contract.
Dude, he had over 1,500 yards last year, 10 touchdowns. He was first team All-Pro. He's only 24 years old. He's 24. He turns 25 in October, end of October. He is the most underrated, in my opinion, underrated wide receiver because he's not this burner. He's not this huge guy. It's like DK Metcalf makes all these great plays, but you're taking Amon-Ra St. Brown over DK Metcalf in a heartbeat.
So you don't want the guy that's huge and fast and makes great plays.
I want the guy that goes for 1,500
gotcha.
yards and who perpetually puts up numbers and is a great teammate, not.
No, there's that part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know. He must have come out early, right? So this is his fourth year, or he's going into No, I'm Amon-Ra.
He's heading into his fourth year.
Yeah,
he's played 3 years
year.
already.
Yep.
He's 3,588 yards in 3 years.
Wow.
And to your Penei Sewell point, he's younger. He's like, what was he when he came out? He was like 19 or 20 when he came to the draft.
Yeah. So there you go. But yeah, it's not the highest ever because Trent Williams signed a $138 million contract. But I'm trying to find the guaranteed dollars on that.
In the NFL, it didn't say in history, so maybe right now he's the highest paid. For Trent's making, I don't know.
I figure in today's day and age, if you're the highest paid tackle in the NFL right now, wouldn't that make you the highest paid tackle ever? I mean, I figure right now, like I can't imagine.
Where's Trent Williams in his contract?
Well, where's the AAV? I'm looking it up right now on SpotTrack.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe just the
SpotTrack, by the way, just changed
this year. He makes more money.
Interface.
Trent Williams is averaging 23 million AAV. Actually, Andrew Thomas makes more AAV than Trent Williams at 23.5 because Trent Williams was a 6-year contract.
Yeah, it was 6 years.
So this is probably 23.501.
Yeah, he's got 3 years left on that deal. Does Trent Williams, right?
It ends in 2026.
Yeah, so 3 years left. So there you go. What's the guaranteed dollars?
Looks like guaranteed for Trent Williams was only $40 million. Only 40 of the 138 was guaranteed at signing.
So what's the most in guaranteed dollars? Does
looks
it say?
like Andrew Thomas was the most guaranteed at $67 million.
Yeah. So what? Penei Sewell is almost $10 million more than what was the most.
Crazy because Laramie Tunsil was the previous highest before Andrew Thomas, and his was only $50 million guaranteed. So we're starting to see a lot more guaranteed for tackles.
Oh, sorry. Penei Sewell's $85 million guaranteed. So
$18 million.
Wow.
$18 million more guaranteed than what was the previous highest tackle in the NFL.
And isn't he playing right tackle as well?
Correct. I'm looking at all
Decker is their
tackles
left
right now.
tackle.
Yes, correct. That's right tackle. I'm looking at all tackles right now.
So we're off the hook for
There you go, huh?
what's his name?
Juwan Taylor.
Juwan Taylor. There you go.
What's his name?
So important.
Yes. What's his name?
False start.
Love that. What's his? Hold on, Dylan. Hold on. We're talking about Juwan Taylor. Okay. Hold on.
Hold on. Don't false start on this
Don't
comment.
go too quick. Okay.
Collinsworth hasn't reminded me of the fact that it's Juwan Taylor.
Guys.
So it's not Thursday night. So
I'll tell you what, guys.
Don't try to backpedal out of that comment, okay?
I know there was not a great setup to get into this.
Darn it.
But Juwan Taylor's sixth highest paid in value, AAV, and guaranteed money at contract for any tackle
For
left
all
and
tackles,
right.
yeah.
Left and
I
right,
guess
yeah.
seventh now since with Sewell, but
Tell you what, once they get
Great.
Fashanu at pick 16, whew, that's mighty nice. Bookend tackles. We'll take time out, come back. Where's that next?
Hey everybody, did you miss all the great 420 sales this weekend? Don't worry, Greenlight Dispensary has got you covered. They're going to be posting post 420 clearance sales all week long and through the weekend, through the rest of April actually. So whether you go to the website or to one of their 4 KC area locations, they're still going to have some great options for you to choose from at lower than usual prices. Greenlight Dispensary wants to thank you as well for voting them the #1 dispensary in Missouri, as well as the #1 loyalty program as well in the state of Missouri. Go online to greenlightdispensary.com. You can see all the offers that they have as well as all the product that they'll have in stock before you go. You can also order online there and pick up through their drive-thru or the grab-and-go window and save some time as well. You can get first access to all their amazing deals and specials by subscribing to the loyalty program as well at greenlightdispensary.com. You can try their AI bud tender to help you shop at their huge online menu. So again, go check them out online at greenlightdispensary.com. If you missed out on all the specials on 420, they'll have them through the end of April. Again, that's greenlightdispensary.com, greenlightdispensary.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Mick Schaefer hanging out with us.
Hi.
It's presented by Empower Payments. Why settle for ordinary merchant services when you can give to charity with every transaction with Empower Payments? Visit empowerpayments.com today. Go ahead and visit that.
Will do.
All right, good. Great.
He's my neighbor. Brady's my neighbor, so I can just
Really?
visit his house.
About that.
Like, my Wi-Fi's down. I'm just knock on his door. Just tell me about it.
Yeah, just I don't know. Do you ever go over to his house and then get online
I have the
at
cash.
to empowerpayments.com?
I feel like that.
Look at it together.
It's like a human website. At his house, I can just take my cash, and I see how the whole thing works behind the computer screen.
Here, do technology.
My social security number is. I just say it aloud.
He actually shows up and he's like, actually, I'm a Jordanian prince. And
Yes.
you have been selected out of over 5 million people. Congratulations. I just need your social security number and then your bank account, and that thing is going to be filled. Why are you at my front door? Because you've been chosen. You're the chosen one. It's awesome, man. Good for you.
For that.
Good for you, dude. Visiting with Mick Schaefer, 913-912-4810. News that's happened today. One, Penei Sewell signs a huge contract, the most guaranteed dollars for an offensive tackle in history. Amon-Ra St. Brown signs a huge contract, the most guaranteed dollars for a wide receiver in history. And Reggie Bush got his Heisman back.
He did.
He got his Heisman back. So now Reggie Bush reinstated with the Heisman Trust. They now have given back his key to the Heisman house, which is great because now he can show up. He doesn't have to be invited there. He can just live there now at the Heisman house. It's a long time coming. But I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised that they did it. I'm in agreement that they did it.
Wait this long? I
Well,
wonder.
one, why'd they wait this long? And then two, if they were just going to be stubborn and be like, no, he's already lost it. We're not giving it back, after the fact. No, we've already made our decision.
They caught a lot of flack for the rest in peace OJ post from the other day. So I'm wondering if there's like, okay,
interesting.
is there one way we can make up for that? Oh, yeah, there is one way.
So it's one out, one in? That was a question. I don't know. Is it?
Maybe that's
we
how
now
they do
have
it.
room in the Heisman house for Reggie
it.
Bush
That
to
was
bring
it.
back?
I think you stumble onto something.
I don't know how the Heisman Trust works. I would have given the Heisman back a long time ago, especially when what he did, kids been getting for a while. I mean, now the question is like,
If all the Heisman don't fit, you must have quit in the house.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's I don't know that it makes sense, but it makes sense in my mind. And that's really all that matters because we're the ones having the conversation right now. I know that the Heisman is different than the NCAA, but if we're able to go back and do some of these things and go, all right, we're allowing this to happen now, even though it's against the rules then.
Are you talking about Louisville?
I'm just talking about banners in general. Like at Syracuse, you're fine. Here's your Final Four banner back. At Memphis, all good. You played in that championship game. I know you didn't shoot free throws, but you did play in the championship game. You didn't play in overtime. You forgot that there was an extra 5 minutes
there, right? For like
Plenty of time served.
16 years, you were maybe embarrassed by it, or you had to go through all that. Time served.
Plenty of time served. Banner, get it back. Any like all the anything that's stripped wins. KU, get your wins back. Get those wins back for KU. Now they're ahead of Kentucky again. Now they get those Bill Self wins that they had to vacate.
Did they not pass him back yet this year?
Not yet. No. They passed him and they came. It's like a NASCAR race.
is.
They got docked one lap.
Running too wide.
We are wide open right now. Going in for 4 tars and Sunoco fuel. But yeah, go ahead and give them back. Give the wins back. Give the banner back because it was stupid to begin with. Because we know they played the game. We know it happened. The banners especially, if you want to take away the wins, whatever. Bill Self was oddly okay with it. Like when we talked with him, and he was like, it was a rule. And they found us to be against the rules. It was a rule. So we lost the wins. And we move on. And we move forward.
I
I'm
just knew there could have been a lot more.
Yeah.
Pile
I
on
mean,
top
at
of
that
that,
point,
so-
you sort of just take it. You're like, all right, well, if this is the penalty.
And I mean, when you're in the middle of it, and I think you're way more pragmatic about it. Like, nah, we played those games. I don't care what somebody else says.
Right.
We played those games. I had a full scouting report. Right? Norm over here designed it. And we traveled. There's planes and buses and everything, sweat and tears. All that stuff happened. So
Norm came up with the whole thing. I did.
I did.
I was there.
And it's not like every day opens up a NCAA record book to look at stuff, right? And everybody just remembers stuff, right? We don't need an encyclopedia to like, wait, was it in 2018? No, we just have a Google search or our minds.
But I do love that, like, whenever like the NCAA will put out like a tweet or something of, this is the first time that the NCAA champion or whatever since blah, 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 blah. And then they name the other ones, and then they list like 2013 with Louisville that won the championship. It's like, hold on.
They do.
But like there's been so many tweets like that people are like, so the social media recognizes it, but the NCAA, there's a disconnect between the NCAA offices that say you vacated it and then the social media that's like, look at all these teams that did this. Oh, Memphis in 2008. No, they didn't.
Because that intern Googled it, and the intern did not.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. I mean, UMass.
He wasn't born then.
It's like, how did Marcus Camby get that necklace? I think we're going to take your entire season away. You got a gold necklace. I don't think you should have a gold necklace. He can't afford a gold necklace. That's too much money for that guy. Sorry, your entire season, UMass.
The current state of college athletics and NIL and it just being Wild West now was a big reason for that. Was maybe an impetus for them giving the Heisman Trophy back to where, like, okay, this is nothing. This is the 80th guy on the roster getting these benefits now that Reggie Bush got.
I will say it is a little. I'm all for the NIL and I'm all for the transfer portal. Okay, I know people have different opinions on it. I know.
By the way, they can. I mean, we talked about this one time. We thought they can only do it once. You can transfer portal as many times.
Yeah, just have fun with it. Let's do it. Let's boogie here. But it is a little jarring when it's like so-and-so from that has entered the transfer portal according to his agent. That is a little jarring at this point, how quickly it's gone from if you have an agent, you're never allowed to touch a college basketball or football again. In fact, if you do, you lose a hand if you hire an agent.
What's worse than that if you just sought out one,
That's right. You talk to an agent, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, no, now you're in the draft. Now you're in the draft.
In baseball, they allowed you to have an advisor. Because you could still return to school, but you couldn't have an advisor in basketball or football or anything else that you were drafted in, or then you would lose eligibility for the rest of your life and your child's. That was a little extreme. That's punishing the son for the sins of the father, but they really wanted to make sure that you didn't have that. And now people are transferring via their agent. We know he's transferring because his agent told us, and he's seeking out $500,000. That's the going rate for so-and-so.
And used to, it was like, if you said you were declaring for the NBA draft, you were in the draft.
That's
that
right.
was it. There was no going back. You've declared. Then they added layers like, okay, if you don't hire an agent.
Okay, but
and
by
then if you decide
this
by
date,
May 30th, and now it's like,
this
come
date.
Back.
Now it's like, you're drafted, but do you like your draft spot or not?
Right.
Just fill out a form.
Oh, is it New Orleans? Okay, yeah. No, come back.
Hey, Jarrett Sutton was in the
about
building
that. I
earlier.
couldn't think of
Wow,
anybody else.
man.
Jarrett, Mick Schaefer said that. I don't know where you are right now, but
He's
Jarrett,
not in the building.
he was earlier. He was earlier, like around 11 o'clock. He was walking
he was.
around here looking all beautiful and stuff. Like, oh, it doesn't matter what I wear or if I have a hat or my hair or if I just woke up or I've been running for
You were
7
drafted by the
hours.
Pacers. Oh, wait, Jarrett worked for them too. Dang it.
It's like, okay, fine. Mizzou. Son of a gun.
Oak Park.
Okay,
Dang
Oak
it.
Park.
Oak
Oh,
Park.
you beat me to Oak Park. Typically, it don't mean anything. I'm joking, Oak Park. Don't come at me, Northman.
Or the Okies.
Or the Okies. Or Charles Oakley. Oak trees.
One of our failures in city
Oakland.
planning, by the way, in Kansas City was to have Oak Park Mall nowhere near Oak Park High School. That baffled me for a good 6 months to a year when I first moved here that long
I'm
ago.
so with you. It's like, where's Oak Park Mall? It's got to be near the high school, right? You would think.
45 minutes, maybe.
You would think it's a bus ride and an Uber before you finally get there.
A whole other state, too. And the difference is, I mean, one state you can smoke weed, the other you can gamble at way different states. These might as well be on East Coast and West Coast, Kansas and Missouri.
Let's just say one side would have to worry about a tax for a stadium. One spot would and one spot wouldn't. Let's just say that.
You brought up
depending on where
the
the
smoking
stadium
on
is.
one side and gambling on the other, which brings up my genius bar idea.
Yeah.
Which is on state line.
Road, absolutely.
But to do it, you can't go through the road. You build a
Over.
Yeah, you build like an over. So you thought of this too.
I have. I think great minds think alike, and I think that was a kind of an easy thing to come
an
to.
easy
Whoa!
thing, but-
Yeah.
Great minds, and what Mick is saying, like that's a generic mind.
Yeah.
That's not even a beautiful
Great
no, we're
on
not
my
super
part,
smart.
easy on.
Yes.
Ah.
Great that you thought of it immediately
But
easy.
you would have
because-
to. I mean, you would have to have whatever, in your mouth, and then hold the phone out across the line.
But there's that
Right.
that geofence ain't working like that.
It's not that accurate.
Hell no, it ain't that accurate, man. Hell no, I was over at where was I at State Line? But I was on the Kansas side of State Line, and I'm like, it won't let me log on. Like, I'm trying to place a bet right now. I gotta place a bet. What am I doing? Dude, 1-800-bets off. No, I gotta do it right now. I'm gonna get in the car. I'll be back in 5 minutes. That didn't happen, but what did happen is it would not let me place a bet. It kept saying searching, location is not in.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm on the. I don't know that I would move there. Like that it's a little too close. Like the geofence, like it feels like you're riding the fence at that point. That they're kind of deciding it might
It's
be
a gray area.
Might be which way. Yeah, it's Amsterdam. Like you're just right there, and there's no action. You can't even if you get too close to the state line on the Missouri side, you can't smoke weed. Actually, there's that fence too.
There's
that
that
just
fence
it
that goes
immediately
out. It just
extinguishes
extinguishes
immediately
J.
just snuffs it out. I can't even light it over here. There's no lighter fluid in this. It's everything is just gone. It's
The blunt
it's the
turns to
atmosphere.
ash. It just falls out of your mouth.
Yes. It's like your grandpa that used to just hold the cigarette in his mouth that had the entire cigarette was the ash, which is a party trick. I mean, that you might as well be in the circus if you could do that. We'll take a time out, come back, more Zone next. We got a little best of, but then at 7 o'clock, the Sporting KC show. 8 o'clock, she's on the mic with Bethany Bowman. And then Covell Hudson wraps up the night at 9 o'clock with a little sports night with Covell tonight at 9 o'clock. But the program comes your way when we are done here at 2 o'clock. Mick Schaefer presented by Empower Payments. Royals get the win last night. We'll see if Alec Marsh will go to the mound and continue that trend.
He will. I have
the trend of winning.
it. I have directed it.
There you go. The bullpen.
Sports director.
Here's what you should do. Just get to the bullpen.
Man.
They should throw more bullpen innings. Johnny Holstaff every single night. Make Michael Waka and Reagan's bullpen guys. And then all of a sudden, unhittable. Unhittable.
I feel like they trade off weeks, though, being unhittable, though.
Yeah. This was a rough go-around through the rotation for the starters. But the bullpen, in the last 4 games has been just unbelievable. 18 and 2/3 with 2 earned runs.
Ready for the lineup to turn their bats around. And maybe that's the problem. Just turn the bats around. They're gripping on the barrel.
Why are they? Don't you think they handle it? It's a smaller surface area. It's hard.
Yeah, but the scoring runs was so easy for them. They needed a challenge. See?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't swing like that.
It's so
Turn it
easy
around.
to do. You grabbed it wrong as well. Yeah.
I'm just
Those things
left-handed.
happen.
That's why.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you throw and swing left-handed?
No, throw righty, bat lefty.
That's what my son does.
I feel like you guys have had this conversation before.
I don't know that we have.
Okay.
I didn't know you were a lefty batter.
He doesn't listen very well.
Dylan, did you throw right, bat left?
Righty. Right left-handed, though, so, missed
Really?
out.
That's right. I remember you telling me that.
Kick
yeah.
left-footed, too. So.
Should have thrown left-handed.
All-around weirdo.
Yeah, so you're right left-handed, kick left-handed, but you didn't. If you threw left-handed, you'd be pitching tonight for the Royals, Dylan.
That's quite a stretch, but I appreciate you.
Yeah, I mean, you put that your success from the right side, you make that from the left side unhittable. Yeah, like Mick.